Chapter 444. Hearing this, Qin Daochu looked hesitant and said, "Recently, my Qin family has been mining spirit stone mines, which has caused Sangzhou spirit stone coins to become unstable. Now that Sangzhou cultivators are all in a panic, for fear that my Qin family will mine all the spirit stones in Sangzhou, and the spirit stone coins in their hands will become waste paper." Absurd. Qin Daoxian snorted coldly. Spiritual stone coins can buy all kinds of medicinal pills, magic weapons, and magic talismans produced by my Qin family. How can they be reduced to waste paper? I will make fusheng. Speaking of this, Qin Daoxian stopped abruptly. He remembered that Qin Fusheng was in retreat to break through the nascent Soul period, and turned to say, "Don't worry, I will let the people from the military intelligence department check it out, but I want to see who is in Sangzhou." Spread rumors. Yes, Patriarch. Hearing this, Qin Daochu breathed a sigh of relief. The Qin family mining spirit stones with such a big fanfare will indeed cause the hearts of Sangzhou to fluctuate. Because now the collateral of spirit stone coins has gradually changed from spirit stones to spiritual tools, spirit pills and other cultivation resources. And it was the Qin family that provided the Sangzhou cultivators with the most resources. As long as the Qin family insists on using spiritual stone coins to settle the cultivation resources such as algorithms and spiritual pills, there will be no depreciation of Lingshire coins. With Qin Daoxuan's assurance, Qin Daochu was relieved, and his tone became light again. "Patriarch, with the current productivity of this factory, we can produce at most 77 green wood cauldrons per day." Nissan 77. Qin Daoxian nodded. He worked hard for 2 years in the capital of Su Kingdom before he made 50 green wood cauldrons. Now with the Qin family as the backing, just 1 day's effort can surpass his 2 years of hard work. Not only that, with the increasing number of Qingmu Ding production lines, the production speed of Qingmu Ding will only get faster and faster. No matter how strong Qin Daoxian is, it is impossible to compare with the terrifying productivity of industrialization. By the way, are there enough materials for making Aoki Ding? Enough. Qin Daochu nodded and said, "The 4 major demon kingdoms in the real demon world have always been under the control of the Qianyuan sword sect, and the mining of Qingmu steel has also been going on. I heard that Qianyuan Jianzong originally planned to use the hands of the 4 major demon countries to start trade with other demon countries in the real demon world, but I don't know why this matter was delayed." Hearing this, Qin Daoxian did not speak. Of course he knew why Fei Qinxue stopped the plan to develop the real demon world. With Xiao Yuhua, a foreign enemy, and Qin Daoxian not in Wangxinghai, she naturally had no intention of attacking the real demon world. "You don't need to worry about this matter, as long as there are enough materials for refining the Qingmu cauldron." He paused. "From now on, I will try my best to produce Qingmu cauldron and refine the power of good fortune. What I'm going to do next requires a lot of power of good fortune, understand?" "Clear." Qin Daochu held his head high and swore to assure. With the spiritual stone reserves of the Qin family, at least 20 million drops of the power of creation can be extracted. But it is not an easy thing to refine such a huge spiritual stone into the power of creation. According to a greenwood cauldron, the speed of refining 365 drops of the power of creation a year. If Qin Daoxian wants to extract 20 million drops of the power of creation within a year, he needs at least 55,000 greenwood cauldrons. At the rate at which the factory produces 77 greenwood tripods a day, it would take about 2 years. That is to say, it will take several years for Qin Daoxian to refine all the spiritual stones of the Qin family into the power of creation, and this is only the spiritual stone resources in the hands of the Qin family. In fact, the spiritual stone resources that Qin Daoxian is about to master is far beyond what he is now. Qin Daoxian is about to marry concubine Qinxue, and the Qin family will also form an alliance with Qianyuan Jianzong. At that time, the spiritual stone resources that Qin Daoxian masters will no longer be a mere state, but the entire Wangxinghai and Izumo kingdom. How many spirit stones can be mined in total from the spirit stone mines of Wanxinghai and Izumo? Qin Daoxian couldn't imagine it. For high-level cultivators, spirit stones are numbers, and their value is not great. But the power of creation is different. Except for the Yuanjiang family of Liangjie, if other cultivators want to obtain this thing, they must work hard to refine it. In this way, the power of creation naturally has a huge human cost in it. Even the Yuanjiang family of the Two Realms can use the green wood cauldron to refine the power of good fortune, but they have to spend time refining the fourth-order magic weapon of the green wood cauldron. You must know that it is much more difficult to train a fourth-order alchemist than to train a Jindan real person. Even the Yuanjiang family of the Two Realms has not many fourth-order refiners. Qianyuan Sword Sect. A cave in Beppu. Several figures are sitting together. If there are monks from the Jindan period and above of the Qianyuan Sword Sect, they will be able to recognize them. The few present are all the top true monarchs of the Qianyuan Sword Sect. Linwu, what are you still hesitating about now? Concubine Qinxue betrayed the foundation of the sect, should I turn a blind eye to this? One of the true monarchs said excitedly, my Qianyuan Sword Sect has been passed down from ancient times to the present, and I have gone through many trials and hardships, but now I have to be easily taken into the bag by a yellow-mouthed child. Can you bear this tone? Palace Master Mo, don't be impatient. True monarch Linwu said solemnly, I can't make a decision easily until the final step. What else this Hall Master Mo wanted to say, the true monarch on the side quickly persuaded, yes, Hall Master Mo, the marriage between Chen Daoxian and the sect master is just a rumor, the truth is unknown, you are so impulsive now, isn't it? Disgrace the reputation of the sect master and my Qianyuan Sword Sect. Seemingly thinking of something, the true monarch smiled, speaking of which, I always thought that your Qianyun temple was on the side of the sect master, but I didn't expect. Saying that, the true monarch kept shaking his head. Mo Wuxian's eyes were firm, and he said decisively, the object of my allegiance has never been someone, but Qianyuan Jianzong. Whoever dares to betray Qianyun Jianzong is my mortal enemy. This chilling tone shocked everyone present. Even the true monarch Linwu stood up, bowed his hands to Mo Wuxian, and said respectfully, Brother Mo, rest assured, if the sect master really does the wrong thing and betrays the sect, I will not tolerate it in Linwu. It is good. Mo Wuxian's tone was excited. The eyes of the other true monarchs flickered, not knowing what they were thinking. They knew in their hearts, don't look at the impassioned appearance of Lin Wuzhenjuan and this Hall Master Mo, but the marriage between Chen Daoxian and concubine Qinxue, and the alliance between the Chen family and Qianyuan Jianzong, are not within their control. Among the sects, Qin Zhan did not need to say more, he would definitely stand on the side of concubine Qinxue. In the Qianyuan Sword Sect, only Qin Zhan and Fei Qinxue have reached the world realm, especially Fei Qinxue, who has reached the second floor of the world realm. With just a few of their top true monarchs, how can they fight against the two world realm true monarchs? By mouth? Several true monarchs kept shaking their heads in their hearts, maybe, it's time to make a decision. Just when a few people were discussing, the message Jade Talisman of Lin Wuzhenjuan suddenly sounded. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, Zhenjuan Linwu took out the communication Jade Talisman and opened the ban in front of everyone. Linwu. A soft voice came from the communication Jade Talisman. Is the suzerain? Everyone froze slightly. Metropolitan. Lin Wuzhenjuan bowed his head and said respectfully. I have something important to discuss with you. Hall Master Ganyan and everyone here, please come together. This. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other in dismay. What a strong sense. Across the two caves and the heavy formations, the sect master was able to detect them with his divine sense, and he was not discovered by them. At this moment, this is the only thought in everyone's mind. Such a strong sense of consciousness proves that the spirit of the sect master is getting stronger and stronger, and it is probably only one step away from breaking through the spirit barrier. Flesh Pass, Dao Pass, Divine Soul Pass. Of these three passes, Fei Qinxue had already passed two of them, and only one pass was left. Now it seems that Fei Qinxue is about to pass the level of Divine Soul. What this means, the people present can't know better. Ginchen Dao Kun. Their Qianyuan Jianzong is about to give birth to a Yuanchen Dao Jun. Thinking of this, even though everyone knew that Fei Chenxue was suspected of betraying the sect, they couldn't help but feel excited. Ginchen Dao Kun. Once a Yuanchen Dao Jun is born in the sect, it means that the sect has the possibility of impacting the first-class forces. Just wait for the newly born Yuanchen Dao Jun to serve in the battlefield outside the two realms, and when the service period expires, the sect will be officially recorded by Tianzunqing and become a first-class force in the Fengyun world. Mo Wuxian and true monarch Lin Wu looked at each other silently, and immediately bowed their hands to the communication jade slip. I respectfully obey the decree of the suzerain. When the words fell, the aura on the communication jade slip dimmed. Everyone, let's go. Together. Please. After everyone finished speaking, they all stood up, walked out of Beppu, and flew towards Fei Chengshu's cave. Yunshao Palace. Qianyuan Jianzong Discussion Hall. In the hall, there are only two people, Fei Chenxue and Qin Zhan. The rest of the thrones are all empty. It's not that concubine Chenxue didn't notify everyone, but that she wants to convince the top true monarchs of Qianyuan Sword sect today. Only in this way can we further convince all the true monarchs of Qianyuan Jianzong, let the minority obey the majority, and form an alliance with the Chen family. If the top true monarch of Qianyuan Jianzong confronts her two brothers and sisters, then Qianyuan Jianzong will be divided into two factions again. One faction will follow her concubine Chen Shui and alliance with the Chen family. The other faction disagreed with the alliance. This will inevitably lead to the division of Qianyuan Sword sect. Although Fei Chenxue has confidence in suppressing them, this will definitely damage the strength of Qianyuan Sword sect. This is what she doesn't want to see. Today, Fei Chenxue has made up her mind, either to persuade the elders of Qianyuan Sword sect, or to get rid of them completely. In short, she cannot let Qianyuan Jianzong fall into turmoil and division. Back then, she repeatedly tolerated Yi Yin's faction, just because she didn't want to see Qianyuan Jianzong fall into civil strife. Now, she will never allow Yi Yin's disaster to appear a second time. Whoosh whoosh. Outside the hall, a flash of light flew into the hall and took their seats. Concubine Chengshu's gaze swept across the elders of the sect, and finally, her gaze fell on Jinjuan Linwu. Among these people present, Linwu Jinjuan was the oldest and had the highest credit. Everyone is also vaguely headed by him. Seeing concubine Chenxue looking at him, Jinjuan Linwu slowly stood up, bowed to concubine Chenxue and said, "Sect master, I don't know why you have called me here, why?" Hearing this, concubine Chenxue raised her right hand vacantly and said, "True Lord Linwu does not need to be too polite. Speaking of which, this matter is related to the future and destiny of my Qianyuan Sword sect, so I have to discuss it with you all." She paused. "True monarch, how is my situation in Wanxinghai now?" Hearing this, Jinjuan Linwu frowned. "Now that Izumo has been recaptured, my Qianyuan Sword sect is at its peak, and the situation in Wanxinghai is naturally stable." Hearing this, concubine Chenxue sighed and said, "Why should the true monarch deceive himself and others? It is true that my Qianyuan Sword sect is unique in Wanxinghai, but to say that Wanxinghai is unmatched, it is not necessarily what the sect master said, but the Qin family." Before the concubine Qin Shui could finish speaking, Jinjuan Linwu interrupted, "If the sect master is just worried about the troubles of the Qin family, his subordinates can take action in person to calm down the Qin family." "That's right." The master of the Qianyun Palace also stood up. "Why should the Qin family be afraid of the Qin family, which occupies the land of Wanxinghai and one prefecture? If the sect master really thinks that the Qin family is a disaster, just cut it off." "Yes, although the Qin family is strong, they are only stronger than Qin Daoxian, and the rest are not worth mentioning." "What junior brother you said is very true." The crowd joined in. Seeing the echoes below, Feikingsu's eyes were still dull. "What do you mean? The Qin family is a threat to my Qianyuan Sword sect, so I will remove it, right?" True monarch Linwu stood up again and said, sect master, although cutting off the meritorious officials will make my Qianyuan sword sect bear the infamy, but I would like to bear this infamy alone. After the Qin family is removed, the sect master can announce to the public that I will be expelled from the sect. Beside Fei Qinxue, the pale Qin Zhan frowned slightly. No oil and salt. This Lin Wu is really a muscle, and he would rather bear the infamy than merge the sect with the Qin family. Lin Wu, can you win fellow Taoist Qin? Concubine Qinxue said unceremoniously, you should be aware that fellow Taoist Qin is already the true monarch of the world. Sect master, I want to invite Emperor Yu Zhongyi to use it. True monarch Lin Wu did not give in. Just when the two sides were fighting each other, a crisp applause sounded in the hall. Immediately afterwards, the space rippled slightly, and a white figure suddenly appeared in the hall. It was Qin Daoxian. True monarch Lin Wu, what grudges do you and I have to make you decide to kill me? Xinjuan Lin Wu shook his head, there is no hatred and no resentment. On the contrary, I have admired you very much before, but this does not mean that you can occupy the dove's nest and occupy my Qianyuan sword sect. In the eyes of the true monarch, Qin Daoxian, are the traitor who stole your Qianyuan sword sect? Is not it? Lin Wu Xinjuan burst into anger. Who knows? Qin Daoxian let out a chuckle, and slowly, his laughter became louder and louder, until the whole hall was filled with his laughter. Looking at Qin Daoxian who was laughing, Qin Zhan, who was not far away, said to his concubine Qin Shui, Brother Chen's laugh is really exaggerated. If he can't beat him, I want to beat him. Fei Qinxue glared at him, my brother-in-law. Hearing this, Qin Zhan pouted, I've protected him before I even crossed the door. Fei Qinxue turned her head away and ignored him. In the hall, everyone frowned when they heard Qin Daoxian laughing wildly. Especially the true monarch Lin Wu was even more furious. Qin Daoxian, are you making fun of me? Do not, Qin Daoxian shook his head, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at all of you here. Just a few of you are worthy of me spending my time and planning. Straight. Huangko child. Qin Daoxian, don't be too arrogant. Qin Zhan looked at the hall where there was a lot of scolding, and murmured, I really need to be beaten. 7017K. Chapter 445. Looking at the angry crowd in the hall, Qin Daoxian raised his head slightly, it's useless to talk too much, let's see the real chapter under our hands. It is good. True monarch Lin Wu restrained the anger on his face, since that's the case, let me come to experience fellow Taoist Chen's Taoism. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian shook his head, true monarch Lin Wu raised his eyebrows, why, are you afraid? I'm in the world. It's inevitable to be a bit incompetent against you, a late nascent soul. He thought for a while, and then his eyes swept to the people present, well, let's go together. Only this time, no one was angry. Because everyone knows that in terms of personal strength, Lin Wu Xinjuan is by no means Qin Daoxian's opponent. Even if everyone present shot together, they may not be able to match Qin Daoxian on the second floor of the world realm. What? Let you both go together, but you still don't feel sure. Qin Daoxian sneered, oh right, you want to borrow the Emperor Yu Bell from Shuer, right? With that said, Qin Daoxian turned to look at Fei Qinxue and extended his hand towards her. Fei Qinxue understood, with a wave of her hand, a small golden bell flew towards Qin Daoxian. It is the treasure of the Zhenzong of the Qianyuan Jianzong, the pure yang fairy bell, the Yuhuang bell. Gently holding the Emperor Yes bell, Qin Daoxian chuckled lightly, you boasted that Hai Cao could kill me just now, did you rely on this thing? Looking at the Emperor Yes bell in Qin Daoxian's hands, Lin Wu Xinjuan, Qianyuan Palace Master and others all froze in their hearts. Oops. This treasure actually fell into the hands of Qin Daoxian, and I don't know what kind of ecstasy soup the sect master was poured into by him, but he actually handed the treasure of Zhenzong into the hands of an outsider. Just when everyone didn't know what to do, Qin Daoxian threw Yu Huangzhong Chao Lin Wu Xinjuan, since you are so confident, I will lend you this treasure, but I want to see if you have the ability to kill me with it. Chen Lang. Seeing this scene, Fei Chenxue stood up immediately. She knows the power of Emperor Yes Bel better than anyone else. Although this treasure cannot exert much power in the hands of nascent soul cultivators, if several nascent soul cultivators join forces, some of the power of this treasure can still be stimulated. And with this little power, it is enough to be comparable to Yuanchen Daojun, which is also the biggest trump card of Qianyuan Jianzong. Facing Zhenjuan Linwu's unbelievable look, Emperor Yes Bel slowly flew into his hands. True monarch Linwu looked complicated. Qin Dao Xian, are you really not afraid of death? I said, no matter if you are a person or a group of people, or you are holding a pure yang fairy weapon, you are not my opponent. Since you want to give it a try, I will give you a chance to be convinced. Take it, call all the monks you can, and they'll be waiting for you in the endless void. Speak. Qin Dao Xian waved his hand, and a void black hole appeared in the hall. Qin Dao Xian strode into the black hole of the void and disappeared in front of everyone. Seeing this, everyone looked at each other. Immediately, they followed closely and stepped into the void black hole. Let's go. Seeing this scene, concubine Chenxue knew that this battle was inevitable, and she only hoped that this battle would damage as little as possible the true monarchs of the Qianyuan sword sect. After all, those who followed Qin Dao Xian were all the top true monarchs of Qianyuan sword sect. This level of powerhouse, the entire Qianyuan Jianzong adds up to only a dozen or so, which is very precious. Endless void. One after another figure flew out of the void black hole and stood in the void. Qin Dao Xian glanced at random, and there were 7 people standing behind Lin Wuzhenjuan. The other 3 stood behind Fei Chenxue and Qin Zhan. Seeing this scene, the palace master Qianyuan was furious and glared at the 3 of them. You guys. Among the 3, a cultivator stood up, rushed to the master of the Cloud Palace and cupped his hands. The sect master, whether it is cultivation or merit, is among the best among the sect masters of the Qianyuan sword sect, and the 3 of us believe in the sect master's choose, traitor. The palace master Qianyuan snorted coldly and turned his head to stop looking at them. True monarch Linwu shook his head and sighed. Palace master Mo, forget it, everyone has their own aspirations, so there is no need to say more. I will wait for the peace of mind to meet the enemy. It is good. Mo Wuxian nodded. Today, I will be with brother Linwu, and we will meet for a while with my Wan Xinghai's number 1. One day only. Looking at the 7 top true monarchs in front of him, although Qin Dao Xian was confident enough to win without using Dao soldiers, in order to be safe, Qin Dao Xian still activated the bronze bracelet in his hand. Boom! In the blink of an eye, 5 Dao soldiers appeared around Qin Dao Xian. Looking at the sudden appearance of the Taoist soldiers, the opposite side suddenly became commotion. Qin Dao Xian, why do I think you are so courageous? It turns out that you have a helper. Please help me to ambush me and wait. You are also worthy of becoming the co-lord of the Wangxinghai. The opposite side suddenly shouted, enough. True monarch Linwu shouted, then took a serious look at the 5 Dao soldiers, then looked at Qin Dao Xian, and asked, Dao soldiers? Qin Dao Xian nodded, exactly. Suddenly, true monarch Linwu smiled, no wonder you are so confident that you can win over us who hold the fairy weapon. Qianyuan Palace Master heard the Dao soldiers once, and immediately reacted. His eyes widened and he couldn't believe it. Brother Linwu, are these people from the legend? That's right. A trace of bitterness flashed across Linwu Zhenjin's face. Dao soldiers, but also a complete Dao soldier squad. Linwu Zhenjuan had foreseen their failure. The Dao soldiers have always been used by the disciples of the great forces to protect the Dao. Ordinary cultivators don't talk about it, many have never even heard of it. This is also the reason why several cultivators present scolded Qin Dao Xian as despicable. Linwu Zhenjuan, you use immortal weapons, I use Dao soldiers, I'm not taking advantage of you, right? True monarch Linwu didn't answer, he only shouted, form a formation, heard. The 7 top true monarchs immediately flew to different directions, setting up a mysterious formation. Next moment, one after another, the true monarchs pointed to swords and pointed to the direction of Linwu true monarch. Afterwards, beams of mana light followed their fingers and shot towards Jinjuan Linwu. Do not. To be precise, he did not shoot at Jinjuan Linwu, but at the small golden bell in Jinjuan Linwu's hand. The Emperor Yu bell is the treasure of the Qianyuan sword sect, and the Qianyuan sword sect has never been born with monks who can fully use it. Therefore, in order to use the Emperor Yu bell, the Qianyuan sword sect has also developed a lot of means. The means that Linwu Jinjuan and others are using now is one of them. What this method pays attention to is to gather the mana of many Yuanying monks to motivate Yu Huangzhong. Although in terms of flexibility and power, there is no way to compare it with a single Yuanchen Daojun urging it, but fortunately it can stimulate part of Yu Huangzhong's power. As the mana beam shoots towards the golden bell, the Emperor Yes bell swelled rapidly, and in just a split second, it changed from a small golden bell that could be held in one hand to a behemoth that almost covered the endless void. Chen Daoxian stood under the Emperor Yes bell, as small as an ant. Although this was not the first time he had seen Emperor Yu Zhong show his power, but when he saw it again, he was still extremely shocked. No wonder Xiao Yuhua was thinking about this pure yang fairy weapon. In the hands of a group of Yuanying monks, the Emperor Yu bell has such power. If it falls into the hands of Yuanchen Daojun, Chen Daoxian shook his head. He no longer thought about it, and immediately issued an order to the Taoist team, defend the enemy. Following the order, the Taoist team quickly changed its orientation, and the two Taoist soldiers in charge of defense erected two shields in their hands that were comparable to the size of door panels. The rest of the Taoist soldiers stood behind the two Taoist soldiers. The Dao soldiers formed a defensive formation, and Qin Daoxian was supported by them at the very center. Aside, Qin Zhan, who had not recovered from his injuries, saw this sky-shattering scene and couldn't help but said to his concubine Qin Shui, "Senior sister, why don't we hide for a while?" "Don't hide." Concubine Qin Shui looked at the top of Mount Tai, looking at Qin Daoxian and Yu Huangzhong, who was pressing down on them, with bright eyes. "I believe him." Qin Zhan, Qin Daoxian. Die! Lin Wu shouted loudly, and the Emperor Yes bell fell like a star, slamming into Qin Daoxian. Boom! A terrifying energy storm erupted where the two collided. For a time, there were all kinds of energy rays in the endless void. Fortunately, there is an endless void here, the space is extremely stable, and there is no situation where the space is broken down. The hurricane energy storm blew thousands of miles. Gradually, the core of the energy storm subsided. Dead. Dead? The palace master Qianyun breathed heavily and muttered. At the last moment, Yu Huangzhong's speed of extracting mana was too fast. Rao is because he has a deep foundation, and his mana is much deeper than that of ordinary nascent soul monks, and he can't stand Yu Huangzhong's extraction of mana. This is still the case when they have 7 top true monarchs to perform together, if only one Qianyun palace shudders and shudders. I'm afraid he will be sucked into adulthood by this Emperor Yu. Not far away, Jinjuan Linwu was also panting heavily, shook his head and said, "He is not dead, his breath is still there." The power that Yu Huangzhong burst out was even greater than Linwu Jinjuan imagined. But even so, Qin Daoxian could not be resolved. Thinking of this, true monarch Linwu couldn't help but feel depressed. These people should be the strongest group of people in the opposition forces of Qianyuan sword sect. As for the other true monarchs of nascent soul, in the face of an enemy like Qin Daoxian, it is of no use at all. Even if they hadn't held the Emperor Yu bell, they wouldn't have caused any threat to Qin Daoxian. The most important thing is that Qin Daoxian can fight them face to face, instead of relying on his outstanding personal strength to fight against them. When they went to Zhong Nei to bring more nascent soul cultivators to battle together, they would be a little shameless. The energy storm dissipated. Qin Daoxian appeared intact in everyone's sight. Looking at the white figure in the distance, Qin Zhan said in shock, "With such a strong attack, it can't even shake the opponent's defense." The attack that Lin Wu and the others unleashed just now has definitely reached the level of Yuanchen Daojun. Unfortunately, this attack method is ineffective against Yuanchen Daojun. Qin Zhan naturally knew what senior sister's attack meant to be ineffective against Yuanchen Daojun. Yuanchen Daojun would not be foolish to wait for a group of Yuanying monks to set up the formation, and then urge Yu Huangzhong to attack him. When Yuanchen Daojun faced a group of Yuanying cultivators, he either rushed directly into the enemy's line, killed a lot, or used kite tactics to fight with the opponent. Never stand in the same place stupidly and let the other party use his methods. Qin Daoxuan's move was entirely to defeat the confidence of the cultivators present to resist. In other words, defeat the confidence of the opposition forces of Qianyuan Jianzong. In the middle of the Taoist team, Qin Daoxian waved his hand, and the 5 Taoist soldiers changed into bronze bracelets and wore them on his right hand. After doing all this, Qin Daoxian looked at everyone. Now, are you convinced? Hearing this, the expressions of everyone present kept changing. Finally, Xinjuan Linwu sighed and said, "Fellow Daoist Chen, I admit that your current strength is the highest among all the stars, and with your potential, you won't conspire against my Qianyuan sword sect." Having said that, Xinjuan Linwu laughed at himself. My Qianyuan sword sect, apart from this Emperor Yes Bell, there is probably nothing worthy of your conspiracy. But just now, you personally handed the Emperor Yu Bell into my hands, and I'm obedient. Linwu, you. Seeing that Linwu Zhenjuan was soft-spoken, the palace master Qianyun said with trembling, "You are betraying the sect." "Junior brother Mo, that's all." "That's it?" Mo Wushan roared, "My Qianyuan sword sect has been established since ancient times, and it has been passed down through ups and downs to this day. You told me that now I want to bow my head to a yellow-mouthed child. I tell you, it can't be done." After all, the palace master Qianyun flew out from the crowd. "Chen Daoxian, even if everyone in the Qianyuan sword sect surrenders to you, I can't refuse to accept it." With that said, he looked at Fei Qinxue again. "I misread you. Back then, I should have stood by Yi Yin, over there. At least, he won't betray the sect. Chen Daoxian, die." With a loud roar, Qian Yundianism rushed towards Chen Daoxian without hesitation, posing a desperate attitude. However, with his mana almost exhausted, how can he compete with Chen Daoxian on the second floor of the world realm with only his physical cultivation? I saw Chen Daoxian gently raise his hand and flick his fingers. The space cage immediately enveloped the opponent. Under the blessing of the power of the world, Chen Daoxuan's space cage is many times stronger than before. At the very least, a top true monarch with exhausted mana can never be broken just by his physical cultivation. I saw that the space cage kept shrinking, and finally, it turned into a round bead similar to a glass bead, which was put into his sleeve by Qin Daoxian. Seeing that Qin Daoxian suppressed the Qianyuan palace master instead of killing him, Linwu Zhenjuan, including concubine Qinxue, all breathed a sigh of relief. Speaking of which, the palace master of Qianyuan and Yi Yin are different. After all, Yi Yin is not for the sect, he has his own selfishness, while the lord of the palace of Qianyun and the true monarch Linwu are all for the Qianyuan sword sect. If Qin Daoxian kills these two on the occasion of these two alliances, it will inevitably cause the Qianyuan sword sect's heart to float. In the end, even the more than 5,000 fourth-order refiners who had been included in the beetle would have a rebellious heart. Force is indeed very important, but when running a force is not everything. Sometimes, people's hearts are often more important. With Qin Daoxuan's strength, he can indeed easily kill all the opposing forces in Qianyuan sword sect. But in this way, the hearts of Qianyuan Jianzong dissipated. He also counted on the disciples of Qianyuan sword sect to manage Wan Xinghai and Izumo for him in the future. After all, relying on the Chen family alone, it would be a fantasy to manage the Nuoda Wan Xinghai and Izumo. 7017K. Chapter 446, 10 days later. Outside the Qianyuan sword sect, a spirit boat flew over from all directions. Occasionally, there are also flashes of light passing by, and it is a scene of an immortal family. On a spirit boat. Two purple mansion monks, a man and a woman, are talking. These two are not other people, they are Zhou Mubai, the young patriarch of the Zhou family in Sangzhou, and Yang Gongwan, the patriarch of the Yang family. Compared with Zhou Mubai, who has not yet fully taken over the power of the family, Yang Gongwan has already taken over the power of the Yang family from his grandfather. It's really like a dream. In the cabin, Yang Gongwan's voice of exclamation came. Yes, Zhou Mubai nodded, it was just a rumor before, I didn't expect that Patriarch Chen would marry the suzerain. I don't know what to think, Yang Gongwan frowned and said, they just got married like this, wouldn't it be too hasty? Heard. Zhou Mubai looked at Yang Gongwan thoughtfully, and said, it's not too hasty, the marriage between the Patriarch Chen and the suzerain has been fermented in Wanxinghai for several years. For such a long time, Qianyuan Jianzong has not come out to refute the rumors. It can be seen that the marriage between the imperial concubine and the Patriarch Chen is not groundless. I think the reason why this news was delayed until a few days ago is probably what I said before, there are too many people in the Qianyuan sword sect who are against it. So, Chen, he suppressed the opposition within the Qianyuan sword sect? Zhou Mubai picked up the spirit tea on the table, whether it is the Patriarch Chen or the imperial concubine, but someone must have suppressed the opposition. Otherwise, Qianyuan Jianzong would not invite the monks from all immortal tribes in Wanxinghai to come to participate in the double cultivation ceremony of the Patriarch Chen and the sect master of the imperial concubine. Yes. Yang Gongwan stared at the teacup on the table, lost in thought. Seeing Yang Gongwan's soulless appearance, Zhou Mubai remained silent. Before Chen Daoxian was born, Zhou Mubai was known as the #1 sword immortal in Guang'an Prefecture, and his scenery was unparalleled for a while. But compared with Chen Daoxian, he seemed so mediocre at the beginning, he was still a little unconvinced in his heart. But as Chen Daoxian's strength became stronger and his status became higher and higher, the dissatisfaction in his heart had long since disappeared. Facing Chen Daoxian, a former friend, once again, he only had admiration and no other emotions in his heart. In any case, Chen Daoxian was also a strong man who went out from his Guang'an mansion. Zhou Mubai and Yorong Yan were both monks in Guang'an Prefecture. In fact, the monks in Guang'an mansion and even the entire Zhangzhou were in a similar mood to Zhou Mubai. Being in the same state as a peerless genius like Chen Daoxian, everyone felt a sense of pride. Zhou Mubai could understand Yang Gongwan's loss. Because Yang Gongwan was also the one who witnessed Chen Daoxian step by step to where he is today, and as a woman, it was normal for Yang Gongwan to have a crush on a genius like Chen Daoxian. If you ask the fairies of the immortal clan in Sangzhou and even the states who have not left the pavilion, there are a few who have never imagined that their Taoist companion is Chen Daoxian. But fantasy is destined to be only fantasy. Zhou Mubai is indeed getting married, but the object of his marriage is also the existence that all the cultivators of Yang Gongwan look up to. Fairy Yang, don't think about it, Gan Chen Jiazi is here. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian turned his head to look out the window, and Chen Jiazi's guardian formation was already in sight. In order to welcome guests from all over the world, Chen Jiazi's guardian formation has long been open. At this moment, both the cultivator's escape light and the Chen's house where the cultivator was riding were all unimpeded. Chen Jiafei went to dry Zhan Xianglian. What the two of them saw along the way were all brightly decorated and beaming scenes. Even the cranes and birds flying in the sky were covered with red ribbons. The entire dry Zhan Xianglian is now plunged into a sea of red. Chen's house. Chen Daoxian looked at the mortal city in the red ocean below, and muttered, Gan Zhan Xianglian really spared no effort to publicize his and Zhan Xiang's wedding this time, you see. Yuan Jianzong looked in the direction of Zhan Xianglian's finger. After today, Yang Gongwan's situation will change. Gan Chen Jiazi may no longer be the ruler of Yang Gongwan, or, in other words, not only the ruler of Zhan Xianglian. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian was shocked. You mean, but how is this possible? The people who do Chen Jiazi will definitely applaud. Although I don't know how Patriarch Chen did it, based on what I know about him, if it weren't for this, he would never have gotten married to concubine Qin Xue. Seeing Zhang Xianglian's determined appearance, Qin Daoxian hesitated. Indeed, she knew very well what Zhou Mubai's character was. With his character, if he could not lead Qin Jiazi and control Yang Gongwan, he would never marry concubine Qin Xue. In the end, although Zhou Mubai looks gentle and elegant on the surface, he is actually an extremely powerful figure. Gan Zhan Xianglian expects to rely on concubine Qin Xue to marry the other party, and it is impossible to accept such a master. Qin Daoxian opened his mouth and was about to say something. Yuan Jianzong said, "Let's go out, the people of the suzerain are here." "It is good." Qin Daoxian swallowed the words that came to his mouth, and went out together with Zhan Xianglian. Go out of Chen's house. Sure enough, a welcoming team jointly formed by the sect master and Gan Zhan Xianglian greeted the two of them. There are not many monks in this team, there are only 6 people in total, 3 of them are sect master monks, and 3 are disciples of Gan Qin Jiazi. Although it was the first time to cooperate, brother Zhan Xiang and Gan Qin Jiazi's disciple got along very well, at least on the surface. His gaze swept across the crowd, and finally, Yuan Jianzong's gaze stayed on the body of a sect master cultivator, who was the leader of the welcoming team. Clan Chief Zhou, Clan Chief Yang. The cultivator of the Zhan Xianglian generation bowed his hands to Yuan Jianzong and Zhan Xianglian. Welcome to the double cultivation ceremony of my patriarch Zhan Xiang and his concubine Xiling. Fellow Taoist is polite. With that said, Yuan Jianzong handed over the invitation card in his hand. The cultivator of the Wan Xinghai generation took the invitation, and after verifying it with his hands, he said respectfully, "Tu, please come with me. There is a Taoist friend." Following behind the welcome team, Zhan Xianglian couldn't help but said, "The suzerain sent a cultivator of the Zizi generation to greet us." "Fairy Yang, don't be angry," Zhan Xianglian shook her head, "there are not many sect master cultivators, and they are the 4th generation of sect master cultivators in the future. Speaking of which, like the monks of the Fuzi generation, they are also the mainstay of the sect master. They came to greet us." The sect master had already given us a high look. "You must know that there are too many immortal clans here today. There are more than 10 Yuanying families in Yang Gongwan alone, and this is not counting the Xiuxian family that Yunggua has newly joined. As for the Jindan family, it is even more numerous. With so many cultivating families, how could Zhan Xiang send monks from the Taoist or Fuzi generation to greet them one by one?" Hearing this explanation, Qin Daoxian was no longer silent. In fact, she also has this in her heart. Compared with the suzerain, her Yang family is just a small family that cannot stand on the table. Now the sect master can send 3 cultivators of the Zizi generation to greet them, all because of their old feelings. Although there was still a glimmer of extravagance in his heart, Qin Daoxian had to succumb to reality. It was impossible for Zhan Xianglian to meet her in person. Perhaps, now she can only stand in the corner of the wedding celebration, silently watching the other party on the high platform. Seeing Qin Daoxian's low mood, Yuan Jianzong thought she was still brooding over this matter, and he couldn't help but continue to persuade him. Besides, the cultivation of this cultivator of the Zizi generation is not low, and he has reached the 3rd floor of the Zifu, so let him come. Greeting you and me is enough to give me both face. Brother Zhou, you don't have to persuade me, I know. Zhan Xianglian forced a smile and said, "I'm just not used to it." Hearing this, Yuan Jianzong looked at the welcoming team leading the way for the two and murmured, "Who can get used to it?" Once Zhou Mubai was in front of him, he was only a junior who was instructed by him, but now he was greeted by a cultivator of the Wan Xinghai generation. The gap is so big that it is difficult to change the temperament of Yuan Jianzong for a while. Sovereign development speed, too fast, too fast. The person who is almost unfamiliar with it has just recognized its status, but the other party has rushed to a new level. As more and more guests came, the auspicious time of Zhou Mubai and Fei Chengshu's double cultivation ceremony is getting closer and closer. Within a cave, Concubine Qinxue was sitting in front of the dressing table, and all around her were immortal servants and maids dressed for her. As the space fluctuated, a figure appeared instantly. It was Qin Zhan, who had not fully recovered from his injuries. Seeing that concubine Qinxue was still slowly dressing up, Qin Zhan was in a hurry. "Oh, senior sister, why haven't you dressed up yet? The wedding auspicious time is coming soon." "No hurries." Concubine Qinxue sat quietly in front of the dressing table, watching her newly recruited disciple Lingzhou dress her up, and said, "Let them wait." Hearing this, Qin Zhan's expression froze slightly. Suddenly, he thought of something, moved and said, "Senior sister, shouldn't you be relaxed?" Fei Chengshu's jade hand could not help clenching the bright red xia pie. She stood up, looked at Qin Zhan, and said indifferently, "Who is afraid?" Qin Zhan smiled, "Okay, then hurry up, everyone is waiting." After finishing speaking, before Fei Qinshui went mad, her figure disappeared instantly. Spirit boat. The disciple is here. Lingzhou lowered his head. "Does my current appearance look good?" Lingzhou carefully looked at concubine Chengshu's dress, wearing a phoenix crown, wearing a robe, under the eyebrows of 2 curved willow leaves, a pair of beautiful eyes like autumn water, under the snow-white yao nose, lips like danxia. Her pair of white and tender roe, gently crossed together, tucked into the wide big red sleeves, looked dignified and noble. Rao Shi Lingzhi's appearance is absolutely beautiful, and seeing the appearance of Fei Qinshui at this moment, he still can't help but feel a little ashamed. She looked at concubine Qinshui with burning eyes, and nodded with a smile, "Master, you are so beautiful today, Chen Jinjuan will definitely drool when he sees you." Hearing this, Raoi Fei Chengshu's temperament couldn't help but blushed slightly. She spat lightly, reached out and touched Zhan Xiang's forehead, and said, "You little girl, you salivate in everything." It came out, and the net said some dirty words. Lingzhou looked at concubine Chengshu's shy appearance, and laughed even more, and even the immortal servants and maids in the house laughed lightly. Hearing the laughter in the house, Fei Chengshu's Rou-yi couldn't help but relax, and Chang's mood was also relieved. "Lingzhou, let's go." "Yes, master." After all, Lingzhou lightly supported Feikingsu's hand, and behind her, several fairy girls supported Feikingsu's xiabi, and everyone walked into a big red immortal boat and flew towards the ceremony site. This time, the number of monks who came to participate in the double cultivation ceremony was no less than that of the last time when the Izumo kingdom was attacked. Even, because this time, many immortal clan of Izumo country sent people to come. The number of people in this double repair ceremony is more. Due to the large number of people, it is not appropriate to hold this celebration in the main hall. There is no hall that can accommodate so many monks. Therefore, this double repair ceremony is still held in the place where the last celebration ceremony was held, but there are only 2 protagonists of this ceremony, that is, Zhan Xianglian and Fei Qinshui. When Fei Chengshu's immortal driver arrived, on the high platform in the center of the venue, Zhou Mubai was already wearing a red dress and had been waiting for a long time. Watching Ganchen Jiazi Xiling immortal arrive, the monk in charge of the harmony sang loudly, and as the mana surged, the voice instantly resounded through the sky. "Dry Chen Jiazi Xiling. Drive here." Following this harmony, the hundreds of thousands of monks at the scene fell silent. Immediately after, the chaotic congratulations sounded, "See Xiling. Participate in Xiling. See Xiling." The voice reverberated between the heavens and the earth, and the cranes and birds above the sky seemed to be startled by this condensed momentum, and flew far away. Inside the fairy car, concubine Chengshu's voice rang in the ears of every monk, "Everyone is excused." "Thank you Xiling." The chaotic and uniform voice once again made Zhou Mubai see how high the status of concubine Qinshui was in the minds of cultivator Yang Gongwan. Zhenjuan Linwu was sitting on the high platform, looking at the much-anticipated concubine Qinshui with a long gaze. On the one hand, he was proud that Chen Jiazi had produced such an excellent Xiling, and on the other hand, he was also helpless that Yang Gongwan gave birth to the evildoer Zhou Mubai at the same time. It would be great if Yang Gongwan had only Xiling alone. Qin Zhan, who was sitting beside him, smiled. It's not too bad now, we'll all become a family soon. Lin Wuzhenjuan blew his beard and glanced at him, and stopped talking. Old man, I'm not talking about you. Even if Yang Gongwan is only a senior sister, how can she develop Qinjiazi? We have worked hard for more than 400 years, but we have only captured one Izumo country from the Xianqingdao League. Even if senior sister destroys the Xianqingdao alliance, how much can Qinjiazi develop and grow? Isn't it still a second-rate sect in the borderlands of Xianyun continent? But let Zhou Mubai take over my job as Qinjiazi. Might we be able to become the top sect in the Fengyun world in the future? Just make your spring and autumn dream. Hey! Qin Zhan smiled and did not argue. Facts have proved everything. Zhou Mubai is too terrifying. What he said just now that Qinjiazi can set foot in a top sect in the future is not nonsense. He really has a hunch that in the future of Zhou Mubai and Gan Zhanxianglian are limitless. In comparison, the mere sharing of Yang Gongwan and Izumo's ruling power is nothing. Besides, how many sect master monks are there? If Zhan Xiang wants to rule such a huge territory, doesn't he have to rely on Gan Qinjiazi and the major immortal clans? 7017K. Chapter 447. The double repair ceremony lasted for 10 days. As masters, Qin Daoxian and concubine Qin Xue would naturally not be with the guests for 10 days. In fact, the two simply showed their faces in front of everyone and left the main venue. Concubine Chengshu's dojo cave. Inside the cave, a majestic palace. This palace is the place where concubine Qin Xue practiced on weekdays. At this moment, outside the palace, there are red lanterns and red carpets. Compared with the previous Xianjia cave mansion, there are more fireworks and festivities. In the palace, only Qin Daoxian and Fei Qinxue were left. Qin Daoxian walked slowly to the front of Fei Qinxue and sat down, gently holding the other's jade hand. Fei Chengshu's little hands stiffened at first, and then became soft again. From now on, you and I are Taoist companions. Well, from now on, I will always be of the same mind with my husband, and we will live and die together. Fei Qinxue raised her head, her face full of solemnity. But Qin Daoxian could still feel that she was very nervous at the moment. Shuai, don't be nervous. I'm not nervous. Then, shall we rest early? You and I are both monks, why should you rest? Fei Qinxue blinked and said mischievously, listen. Qin Daoxian was taken aback by what she said, and when he reacted, he realized that he had been molested by the other party. Okay, you actually dare to tease me, let's see how I deal with you. After speaking, he rushed towards concubine Qin Xue. For a time, the palace was full of spring the next day. Although the double cultivation ceremony in Qianyuan Jianzong is still being held, it has nothing to do with Qin Daoxian and Fei Qinxue. Opening his eyes, Qin Daoxian's right hand moved slightly, his palm was soft and smooth. Hey, concubine Qin Xue woke up faintly, and saw Qin Daoxian beside him with a naked upper body, her cheeks flushed. Morning, ma'am. Qin Daoxian smiled at her. Well, my husband is early. Fei Qinxue responded like a little wife, and then whispered, turn your head around. It is good. Qin Daoxian nodded and turned around immediately. After a while, concubine Qin Xue dressed her fairy clothes neatly. This fairy robe on your body seems to be the colorful colored glaze robe produced by my Qin family, right? Exactly, concubine Qin Xue nodded. Speaking of which, our Qin family's artifact refiners are meticulous in their minds. They don't want the people in the artifact refining hall to study all kinds of offensive and defensive instruments all day long. Hearing the word, Yuan Jianzong smiled even more. Later, I'll take you back to Shuanghu Island. It is good. Compared with Ganjiang Lanqiu, the influence of the Qin family is too weak after all, so after some discussion, the two decided to hold the venue of Shuangjiang Lanqiu in Ganwan Xinghai. Moreover, the Qin family's Shuanghu Island is too small. Although Shuanghu Island is the ancestral land of the Qin family, this ancestral land is really not a treasure. That is to say, the Qin family took a different approach and opened up the road of industrial production, and they did not rely heavily on spiritual land. For other immortal cultivators to cultivate on an island like Shuanghu Island, even if the talent is against the sky, I am afraid that they will not be able to break through to the spiritual stage. The monks practice, pay attention to the wealth and the law. This earth refers to the place of practice. Not to mention compared with the immortal cultivating families in the land of Xianyunzhu and Zhongzhou, even compared with the major spiritual vein families in the cultivating ceremony, the spiritual land of Shuanghu Island seems too shabby. Although the Qin family continued to use the spirit stone and the spirit formation method to promote Qi Yao of Shuanghu Island had a fifth-order Qi Yao. But it is also a fifth-order Qi Yao, and Jiang Lan's range is also different. Besides Jiang Lan, there are all kinds of genius treasures and spiritual treasures in the places where monks need to practice. These things are very scarce on Shuanghu Island. The Qin family's solution is to buy from the outside world. Thanks to the Qin family's wealth, almost all kinds of cultivation treasures can be bought with Hualingshi. But after all, Shuanghu Island is too small to be used on the table at all. Using it as a place for Jiang Lanqiu and Fei Qinxue to hold their double Qin Dao Xian is really too petty. Therefore, under various considerations, the two chose to place the venue of Shuangjiang Lanqiu in Ganwan Xinghai. On the other hand, it is also to take care of the emotions of Ganwan Xinghai's disciple. After a stick of incense, concubine Qinxue carefully served Yuan Jianzong to put on his clothes, and while arranging his collar for him, she said, "By the way, there is something about my concubine, and I need to tell my husband." "What's up?" Yuan Jianzong grabbed Fei Chengshu's jade hand into his palm and said softly. "It's about my disciple Yuaning." Yuaning. The expression on Yuan Jianzong's face was somewhat unnatural. With the intelligence of concubine Qinxue, he could naturally see Yuan Ying's infatuation with him. But these two people, one is his beloved master, and the other is his sweetheart. They can be said to be the two most important people in Yuan Ying's heart. Faced with this kind of blow, Yuan Ying can't accept it for a while, and it is also a matter of the lower ranks. Seeing the embarrassed look on Jiang Lanqiu's face, concubine Qinxue gently leaned her head against Yuan Jianzong's chest. "I deny that I will definitely marry you when I first came down. I am doing Jiang Lanqiu, for the sake of repairing the great ceremony. Thousands of creatures to consider. But gradually, I found that I really fell on you. I know that Yuaning hated you much earlier than me, but I still don't want to give up on you." Concubine Qinxue raised her head. "Husband, is your concubine very despicable and shameless?" Yuan Jianzong didn't know how to answer. After a while, he stroked Fei Shen's snowy hair and said, "I know what Jiang Lan is thinking, but I have never given her any promises and unrealistic fantasies, so this matter you don't have to feel guilty. Besides, what do you master and apprentice think of as me? Is it a commodity that you let go back and forth?" After speaking, Yuan Jianzong slashed his concubine's snow-white and tender nose, causing the other party to be jealous. But Yuan Jianzong's words made Fei Qinxue put down the biggest stone in her heart. For a long time, she felt that she was taking love with a knife, and she was very ashamed. But Yuan Jianzong told her that the other party never promised Jiang Lan anything. Yuaning was just unrequited love. This undoubtedly made Fei Qinxue put down a huge rock in her heart. "You just said about Yuaning, isn't that what it is?" "Not quite," Fei Qinxue shook her head. "I received news from Zhenan Xianqing not long ago that Yuaning did not travel in Xianyunzhu, but went to Liangjiyuan." "What?" Yuan Jianzong was suddenly surprised. Two worlds abyss. There is only one space teleportation formation from Xianyunzhu to Liangjiyuan, and that is the Liangjiyuan teleportation formation in the capital of Su country. And this formation is opened once every 5 years, that is to say, nascent soul was with him at that time, also in that space teleportation formation. It's just that the other party went to Liang Jiyuan, and he chose to stay. But how could she be so brave? You know, that's the two worlds abyss. It is the front line of the battle between world monsters and human monks. Don't say Jiang Lan is a Jindan cultivator. Even if the spiritual cultivator goes there, he has to be a man with his tail between his tail. Jindan cultivator is really not much different from cannon fodder in the field outside the territory. Is she looking for death? I'm worried, this girl is determined to die. Hear this. Both were silent. This is the only explanation. Yuaning is determined to die, and she cannot accept that her master is with her sweetheart. For her, only death is the only way to get rid of it. Taking a deep breath, Yuan Jianzong looked at Fei Chenxue firmly, and assured, "You are worried, in 5 years, the Su Kingdom's Liangjiyuan teleportation formation will open, and I will definitely go to Liangjiyuan in person and finish her down. Bring it back to you. I'll be with you." Yuan Jianzong shook his head, "You still need to be in charge here. The Qin family and Ganwan Xinghai have just merged, so there is bound to be a lot of friction, and the Izumo Kingdom has just been won, and there will be a lot of things inside. You don't have to accompany me, besides, I won't step down with you." Not worried? Fei Chenxue was stunned for a moment, and then she said angrily, "Do you think my cultivation base is low and my strength is weak?" "I didn't say that," Yuan Jianzong said with a smile. "Humph." Concubine Chenxue said dissatisfiedly, "My concubine will soon be able to break through to the primordial spirit stage, look." With that said, Fei Chenxue exerted her divine sense with all her might, and pressed towards Jiang Lanqiu. Even though Yuan Jianzong's cultivation base has reached the 9th level of spiritual veins, there is still a certain gap between the soul and Fei Chenxue. If concubine Chengshu's consciousness is fully unfolded, it can cover a radius of 90,000 miles. His spiritual consciousness can only cover more than 60,000 miles, which is nearly half of the difference. And the strength of consciousness depends on the soul. It can be seen that Fei Chengshu's soul is much stronger than Qin Dao Xian. Concubine Chengshu's divine consciousness is released as soon as it is released. Yuan Jianzong was really surprised this time. "Shuer, how can your spirit progress so fast?" In his impression, only by taking Tai Shinshui and Tianhua Yulu, the heavenly materials and earthly treasures, can quickly strengthen the soul. The only other means to quickly strengthen the soul is to practice the magic technique. It's just that this kind of exercise is rare, and secondly, it takes a lot of cultivator's energy to practice hard in order to strengthen the soul. Obviously, Qian Jiang Lanqiu didn't have any treasures to enhance his soul, otherwise Fei Chenxue would have used it long ago. The only explanation is that Fei Chenxue practiced the divine cultivation technique. "Are you going to accept the inheritance of the Shoudadayan?" Fei Chenxue nodded. "I didn't dare to break into this inheritance before, because I was afraid that I would encounter a lower-ranking person after breaking into the Tongtian Tower. Now it seems that compared with the invasion of the real demon world, the danger of the Tongtian Tower is nothing." As the suzerain of Qianjiang Lanqiu, the first thing Fei Chenxue learned was that she must not take risks unless she had to. In this point, she is different from Yuan Jianzong, who is constantly fighting outside. Whether it was fighting against the Xianqing Dao League, or completely recovering the Kingdom of Clouds, Fei Chengsu had never been to the front line, she only stayed in the rear, strategizing. Because compared to the fact that she was a top-level true monarch who participated in the battle, an intact Qianyuan sword sect master could stimulate the morale of the cultivators. The son of a daughter can't sit down in the hall. This principle is what Gan Wangxinghai, the sect master, Master Fei Chenxue, taught her a long time ago. For the next level, it's just one word, go. An evenly matched battle will never be fought unless the strength is crushed. The battle that can be handed over to the subordinates is absolutely not to be played in person, unless it is absolutely necessary. It was with this mentality that Fei Chengshu's patience was also exercised to be extremely strong. Although she already had an absolute advantage against Yi Yin at the beginning, she still showed a posture of forbearance. Those who don't know, think that Yi Yin is the one who has the upper hand. At this point, Yuan Jianzong's style of doing things is completely different from hers. Maybe it has something to do with the origins of both parties. Jiang Lanqiu came from a rundown family, and at the end of the family, there were only 2 monks, he and his 13th uncle. If Yuan Jianzong insisted on seeking stability, perhaps the Chen family would have long since disappeared, let alone developed to this point. But Fei Chenxue was different. Since she was a child, she was trained as the heir of Ganwan Xinghai's suzerain. What she has learned, the means of dealing with things, naturally cannot be as risky as Yuan Jianzong. The family has a big business, and naturally there are more worries. Even Yuan Jianzong, with the increasing number of Chen family members, at least in front of the forces who know the details of the Chen family, he is no longer so aggressive. Because he knew that he might not be afraid of the enemy's retaliation, but the Chen family couldn't. This is also the reason why Fei Chenxue proposed a marriage between the 2 parties, an alliance between the 2, and he quickly agreed. If he is the only one, the world is so big, where can't he go? He ignored everything Jiang Lanqiu and Wuji Xianmen. The big deal is to learn the leader of the Sini sect and become a loose cultivator who is desperate for the world. Wouldn't it be fast? Seeing Yuan Jianzong did not speak, Fei Chenxue shook his arm and said coquettishly, "Will you take me with you?" After thinking about it, Chen Daoxian still shook his head, "Because you are about to break through the primordial spirit stage, I can't let you go." "Why?" "There is an order in Tianzun City, all the new cultivators in the Phoenix Meteor Realm must go to Liangjiyuan to serve, and you don't want me to go to Liangjiyuan and serve there forever, right?" This. Concubine Chenxue was at a loss for words. Jiang Lanqiu was right, Wanxing Haitian was far away from the emperor, and he was far away from the land of Zhongzhou in Xianyansu. Even if a cultivator of the Yuanshan stage was born, as long as concubine Chenxue did not take the initiative to expose it, he would be able to hide from the sky and escape this service. And going to Liangjiyuan, it would be different. Once concubine Chenxue broke through to the Yuanshan stage in Liangjiyuan, she would have to serve in the battlefield outside Liangjiyuan. Even if Tianzun personally interceded, it was useless. This rule was determined by all the top forces in Tianzun City. The purpose is to protect the safety of Fengyun world. However, for those cultivators who worked so hard to break through to the primordial spirit stage, this rule was too terrible. They went through hardships and obstacles, and finally broke through to the Yuanshan stage, but they were forced by Tianzunqing to serve in the battlefield outside the 2 realms. Moreover, the service death rate of such a new Jin Yuanshan Daojun is very high. Therefore, Yuan Jianzong was naturally reluctant to let concubine Chenxue go to serve in Liangjiyuan. Didn't you see that Xiao Yuhua was so afraid of going to serve on the battlefield outside the territory? If it weren't for the fact that Wuji Xianmen was too famous and was watched too closely by Tianzun City, Xiao Yuhua would definitely have fled. However, Yuanshan Daojun went to serve in Liangjiyuan, but Tianzunqing personally ordered, "If you evade service, I'm afraid." "What are you afraid of?" "If you are found out in the end, you will serve again. At that time, your strength will be improved to a higher level. Even if you go to serve, you will be well protected from danger." Hearing this, Fei Chenxue felt warm in her heart. She nodded obediently. "Okay, my concubine will listen to my husband." 7017K. Chapter 448. Twin Lakes Island. An escaping light pierced through the void and galloped towards Shuanghu Island. On Shuanghu Island, in the Patriarch's immortal mansion, Chen Daoxian was on the side, silently watching Luo Li and Fei Chenxue talking. As his Taoist companion, Luo Li and Fei Chenxue will inevitably meet each other in the future. Fortunately, both Luo Li and concubine Chenxue were both virtuous people. Although the two met for the first time, they did not embarrass Chen Daoxian. "You are sister Luo Li, I often hear Chen Lang talk about you." Fei Chenxue took Luo Li's hand and said kindly. Meeting with Fei Chenxue, the sect master of Qianyuan sword sect, Luo Li was a little nervous at first, but feeling the kindness conveyed by the other party, Luo Li's nervous mood gradually eased. Well, my concubine is Luo Li, and I have seen sister concubine. Fei Chenxue smiled and was about to speak, when she saw the flying light from the sky. She swept towards the light with her divine sense, and couldn't help but look at Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxuan's face also became serious, and he said to the two, "I'll go back when I go." "It is good." Fei Chenxue and Luo Li nodded. Chen Daoxuan's figure disappeared instantly, and the next moment, his figure appeared in front of Duanguang. Suddenly blocked by someone, the sect master of Tianyanzong stopped to escape. Seeing the person coming, the sect master of Tianyanzong hurriedly bowed his hands to Chen Daoxian. "I have seen Chen Jinjuan before. Fellow Daoist Shou is very polite." Chen Daoxuan's expression was indifferent, and his tone was not polite at all. Although the sect master of Tianyanzong is also surnamed Zhou, he has nothing to do with the Zhou family in Guang'an Prefecture. Even Chen Daoxian didn't know what the other party's name was, only the other party's surname was Zhou. Seeing Chen Daoxuan's appearance, the sect master of Tianyanzong was not angry, and said bluntly, "Old Dao came here to warn the real monarch to escape quickly." "Oh." Chen Daoxian narrowed his eyes slightly. He killed the black-armored cultivator sent by Xiao Yuhua. With Tianyanzong's intelligence channels, he would not be ignorant of any news. Because in the northwestern border of Xianyun continent, only the thousand-array city of Tianyanzong has a large space teleportation formation that connects the capital of Su Kingdom. There are only two ways for the Zhongzhou cultivator to go to the northwest of Xianyun continent. One is to fly by himself, and the other is to take the teleportation formation that connects Thousand Formation City. Obviously, the black-armored cultivator went to Wangxinghai in this teleportation formation. This is also the reason why Tianyanzong knew that Qianyuan Jianzong was in danger for the first time. Only that time, Tian Yenzong did not choose to stand on Chen Daoxuan's side. Although the other party verbally took refuge in Chen Daoxian, in fact, they didn't do anything last time, and they didn't even send any news to Chen Daoxian. This matter also made Chen Daoxian see the double-sidedness of Tianyanzong. Although from the perspective of Tianyanzong, it is impossible for the other party to take the risk of offending Yuanshan Daojun to help Chen Daoxian to report the news. However, Tian Yenzong had already made a gesture of relying on him before, but he acted so frivolously, which undoubtedly made Chen Daoxian very angry. Originally, Chen Daoxian had already made a secret decision to wait for him to buy enough Taoist soldiers in Chuanbao Pavilion, or 11 to break through the Yuanshan period. "You must be the first to conquer Tianyanzong." Only this time, the sect master knew that a Yuanshan Daojun had broken his halberd in his hands, and he had to come to warn him in person, which was undoubtedly too unusual. Unless the other party thinks that the incoming enemy is much more terrifying than the black-armored cultivator last time, the word escape will be used. Fellow Daoist Zhou, please make it clear, why did Chen run for his life? Chen Jinjuan, the old Taoist, didn't report the information before, and he was indeed ashamed of Jinjuan. But behind Lao Dao there are millions of disciples of the sect master, the direct disciples of Wuji immortal sect. Lao Dao really can't afford to offend. Please forgive me. Having said that, the sect master bowed to Tian Yen sect. After giving a bow, the sect master continued, "I don't know what means Xiao Yuhua used this time, but he actually colluded with the people of the Yunzhou family, intending to encroach on my northwest land. Lao Dao came here on this trip, not only on behalf of my sect master's family, but also on behalf of all the sects in the northwest, to warn the true monarch." "You mean, the Yunzhou family colluded with Xiao Yuhua?" Tian Yenzong frowned. "The prohibition of Tianzuan city is still in place. How dare they act so boldly and take action against the northwestern sects? Gan Li's family is the gold lord behind the Fenglai Inn where he lives in the capital of Su Kingdom. Its influence is very large in Zhongzhou, and it is second only to Wuji Xianmen, a cultivator family. Unexpectedly, Xiao Yuhua actually persuaded the people of Gan Li's family to take action for him. Although Xiao Yuhua was a direct disciple of Wu Jixianmen, to the Yunzhou family, this status was nothing. Because the ancestor of the Yunzhou family was originally a Taoist on the 5th floor of the world, and his strength far surpassed that of Xiao Yuhua, a Taoist on the 3rd floor. In addition, the Ganli family has been attached to the Wu Jixianmen for countless years, and the foundation of the Wu Jixianmen is not comparable to a mere Xiao Yuhua. Gan Liwan couldn't think of what bargaining chip Xiao Yuhua used to impress the Yunzhou family and let him take action against the northwestern sections. After all, things are different now. Sect Master Gan Liwan sighed and said, "It's not that the darkness of Zhengda has attacked the various sects in the northwest. A few days ago, 3 Yuanshan Dao monarchs came to the city of Tianjin, and said that they would let each of the sects in the northwest form a northern immortal alliance, in order to do 2 things. The backup force of the battlefield outside the boundary of the realm. The 3 primordial spirit Daijins were from Wu Jixianmen, Xiao Yuhua's subordinates and Yunzhe's family respectively." Hearing this, Tian Yanzong's heart gradually became clear. It turned out that it was not directly attacking the northwestern sects, but secretly controlling the northwestern sects by forming the name of the Northern Immortal Alliance. But Gan Liwan and other sects have been based in the northwestern border of Xian Situ for more than tens of thousands of years, and they have to take care of their own affairs. Moreover, the sect master and other sects are not stupid, they are very vague. Xiao Yuhua and Gan Li's family control the northwestern sects is only one, the other purpose is probably to dry Chendeoxuan's pure yang fairy. Speaking of which, almost all the sects in the northwest have some treasures in the bottom of the box, but in terms of the most valuable treasure, there is no doubt that it is the Emperor Yubel of Qindaoxian. Now, with Xiao Yuhua and the Yunzhou family joining forces, people from the northwestern sects are simply unable to compete. In the view of the northwestern sects, the only one who may have the power to resist in the future is only Tianyanzong, who is doing Qindaoxian. After all, Gan Liwan's previous record of beheading the black-armored cultivator has gradually spread in the northwest sects with the arrival of the Yunzhou family. Knowing this record, coupled with the fact that the northwestern sects knew the age of Tianyanzong, they all pressed their treasures on him. This is the scene where the suzerain and the suzerain came to report on behalf of the northwestern sections. They hoped that Tian Yanzong could escape, and when he broke through the primordial spirit stage in the future, they would rescue the northwestern sects from the hands of Xiao Yuhua and Gan Li's family again. It seems that the idea of putting hope on the future of Tianyanzong is a bit ridiculous, but this is the best method that the northwest sects can think of. After all, the strength gap between the northwestern sects and the Yunzhou family is too great. The next method is completely ineffective in the face of this dimensionality reduction blow. 7017K. Chapter 449. Twin Lakes Island. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. Looking at the sect master of Tianyanzong in front of her, Fei Qinxue returned to her previous cold appearance. The sect master of Tianyan's sect had obviously dealt with concubine Qinxue, and he was not surprised by her appearance, and he cupped his hands and smiled. "Sect master concubine and Dao Yu Chen have tied the knot. I am waiting to participate in the 2 double cultivation ceremony in the future." Disrespect. It doesn't matter, all the sects in the northwest are now facing the covets of the Situ family and Wu Jixianmen villains. It is not disrespectful for you to not participate in the double cultivation ceremony between me and Chen Lang. Many thanks to the concubine sect Master Quan Ren. Seeing that Fei Chengshi's attitude was not as hostile to the northwestern sects as Chen Daoxian, the sect master of Tianyanzong couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Now the Situ family proposed that the northwestern sects form the Northern Immortal Alliance, and its purpose was not only to accept the northwestern sects as vassals. I am afraid that once there is a big conflict with Qianyuan Jianzong, Tianzuan City will be accused in the future, and this so-called Northern Immortal Alliance will become a scapegoat. With such a calculation, the leaders of the northwestern sects are not fools, and of course they can see it. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if Tianzhuan City is not held accountable in the future, the sects in the northwest do not want to become a vassal of the Situ family. Because Zhongzhou was a long way from the northwest frontier, no matter how powerful the Situ family was, they couldn't protect the northwest sections. Once the northwestern sects were accepted as vassals by the Situ family, their only role would be to become a resource supply point for the other party. Naturally, the northwestern sects would not be willing to do such stupid things. However, I don't agree with what you just proposed to let Chen Lang retreat temporarily. This? The sect master of Tianyanzong looked at concubine Chen Xue suspiciously. Zhou sect master, let me ask you, Xianyang sect, Qingwei Taoist sect, Spirit Insect Valley, Qianji Hall, and your sect, how many of these 5 sects are now defecting to the Situ family? The sect master of Tianyanzong said bluntly, to be precise, now only the Qingwei Daoist family has completely fallen to the Situ family, and the rest of the sects are all following the few Daojun Su and Weishi sent by the Situ family. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian frowned. Zhuaniangzong is not willing to join the Situ family with the Qingwei Taoist faction? Young Daoist Chen is joking, the sect master of Tianyan sect smiled, since the last time you fought with the hall master Qin in the Qingwei Taoist sect, the Qingwei Taoist sect and the Xianyang sect have been separated from each other. That's right, concubine Qinxue nodded, in the battle to recover the country of Yun, although Xianyang sect and Qingwei Daoist sect were both injured, in fact, the injuries on both sides were not to the point of breaking the bones, but Chen Lang, Yu and Qin Zhan attacked the Qingwei Daoist faction and brought them devastating damage. You must know that the cultivation of monks depends on the law of wealth and companionship. Qin Zhan used the Emperor Yes Bel to give the Qingwei Taoist sect a severe blow, almost destroying the foundation of the Qingwei Taoist sect. Even if the Qingwei Taoist faction still has a large number of nascent soul true monarchs alive this time, it will slowly decline in the future, because the foundation of the Qingwei Taoist faction was destroyed by Qin Zhan. The foundation here refers not only to the spiritual veins of practice, but also to minerals, spiritual fields, spiritual medicine gardens, and the most important inheritance of sect practice. And all of this was destroyed by Emperor Yes Bel. One can imagine how much Qingwei Daoist party hated Qianyuan Jianzong. Back then, when the Xianqing Dao League seized the territory of Yungue from the Qingwei Daoist faction, it did not cause so much damage to the Qianyuan sword sect. At least when Qianyuan Jianzong tried to escape for his life, he took away the inheritance of the sect. And the Qingwei Taoist school does not even have the most important sect inheritance. Coupled with the Qianyuan Jianzong, a powerful enemy, the possibility of the future rise of the Qingwei Daoist faction is infinitely close to zero. The Xianyang sect was different. In the last Izumo War, the foundation of the sect was not shaken except for some nascent soul cultivators who were damaged, and the strength of the sect was still there. After all, Izumo Kingdom is a resource supply point for Xianyang sect and Qingwei Taoism. Now that the Qianyuan sword sect is so powerful that it has taken back this resource supply point, for Xianyang sect, it is only a loss of some resources, and it does not cause much damage to itself. Naturally, Zhuaniangzong would not be like the Qingwei Taoist school, holding the mentality of perishing with Qianyuan Jianzong. Hearing this explanation, Qin Daoxian nodded, but immediately thought of something. Even if the Qingwei Daoists want to die with us, how did the Situ family know about all this? It's Yi Tianqi. The sect master of Tianyanzong said solemnly. What? He's not dead yet? Qin Daoxian and Fei Qinxue were all shocked. At the beginning, Yi Tianqi drove the world he opened from the endless void and fled in the direction of Liangjian. Fleeing from the endless void to the two realms abyss, during which they have to pass through the extraterritorial battlefield, the other party, a true monarch nascent soul, is still alive. Hearing this news, Qin Daoxian even felt more surprised than the Situ family secretly attacked Qianyuan Jianzong. Life is really big. Qin Daoxian sighed. On the side, Fei Qinxue nodded in agreement. At that time, Yi Tianqi fled for her life, and she was also there. When Fichengsu wanted to come, the other party also panicked and chose to flee from the endless void to Liangjiuan, which must have been fatal. Unexpectedly, the other party is still alive. The sect master of Tianyinzong didn't know about this. He was stunned for a moment, and immediately reacted. According to the news from the old Taoist Anzi in the Qingwei Taoist faction, Yi Tianqi is not dead, and has returned intact. It was because of his return that the Qingwei Taoist sect was able to take refuge in the Situ family so quickly. Chen Daoxian nodded. So, now the Situ family has won one of the 5 major sections. Exactly, the sect master of Tianyinzong showed a bitter expression. I have 4 remaining families, and it is estimated that it will not last long. The people of the Situ family have given us a deadline. Within 3 months, if there are still stubborn opponents, they will come to my door and tell me in person. Said. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian froze in his heart. The Situ family and Xiao Yuhua sent a total of 3 Yuanshan Taoists, and with the background of the Situ family, among the Yuanshan Jinjuan sent, there must be 3 world-level Taoists. An opponent of this strength, with his trump cards, may be difficult to deal with. More importantly, the Situ family is different from Xiao Yuhua. Xiao Yuhua is just a direct disciple of Wuji Xianmen. His right to speak in the sect is limited, and he cannot mobilize many Wuji Xianmen resources. The Situ family is a cultivator family. Compared with the sect power, the cultivator family has always been more united. Since the Situ family had chosen to subdue the various sects in the northwest, they would definitely not give up. This time, even if Chen Daoxian repelled the 3 primordial spirit Daijins, he would still have to face the ancestor of the Situ family, the Daojun on the 5th floor of the world realm. Trouble. Chen Daoxian frowned deeply. Fei Chenxue also frowned deeply. She also felt that this situation was not easy to break, but she would not say anything to let Chen Daoxian and her abandon the Zongmen family to escape. She believed that Chen Daoxian would never do anything to abandon his family. Chen Daoxian looked at Tianyinzong sect master and said, how does Zhou sect master plan to deal with this? The sect master of Tianyan sect sighed and said, I have already discussed with Qianji Hall, Spirit Insect Valley and Xianyang sect, and formed an alliance to resist. In addition, the sect master of the 3 major sects asked me to personally send a message to Dao Yu Chen, and quickly escape from Wangxinghai. In case we fail, Dao Yu Chen, you are our last hope. Although Tian Yenzong said that in case of failure, in fact, everyone knew in their hearts that facing the 3 Taoist monarchs, they would inevitably fail. The difference in strength is too great. If all the nascent soul true sovereigns of the 3 major sects were not afraid of death and rushed to take their lives, they might be able to compete with the 3 Dao sovereigns. But in fact, how many monks who can cultivate to the nascent soul stage are not afraid of death? In the face of a higher-level opponent like Yuanshan Daojun, how many of them dare to take the lead in charging? Even if someone dared to take the lead in the charge, the true monarch nascent soul who took the lead in the charge would be crushed to death by the 3 primordial spirit Dao monarchs in a single encounter. At that time, it will definitely be defeated like a mountain. It is true that the major sects have treasures at the bottom of the box, but these treasures are not enough to offset the strength gap between Yuanshan Daojun and Yuanying Cultivator. Didn't see Qianyuan Jianzong mastering the fairy weapon of Emperor Yes Bell, were you still worried about the possibility of the Xianqing Dao League giving birth to a Yuanshan Daojun? This is just a primordial spirit Daoist, and the Qianyuan sword sect, who possesses the pure yang immortal artifact, is feared like a tiger. Now, there are 3 such enemies of Yuanshan Daojun. Not only that, but behind the Situ family, there is a more terrifying 5th-level Taoist world realm. In the face of such an enemy, not to mention the northwestern sects of Tianyinzong, even Chen Daoxian was a little desperate. Xiao Yua's revenge came too fast. Too fierce. Originally, Chen Daoxian thought that Xiao Yuhua would take action in person. But unexpectedly, the other party actually found a stronger foreign aid. Facing the sincere eyes of the sect master of Tianyinzong, Chen Daoxian stood up and said, I will never escape. But we are not without resistance. Fei Chenxue knew more about Chen Daoxian than Tianyinzong sect master. What she thought of, her beautiful eyes lit up. Chen Lang said. Chen Daoxian nodded. Dao soldier. Dao soldier. The sect master of Tianyinzong frowned. Although he has never seen such a thing as a Taoist soldier, as the head of a sect, he has heard of this treasure of Taoist protection. It's just rumored that the price of Taoist soldiers is extremely high, and even the drop of Tai Shinshui born from the Qingwei Taoist sect cannot be compared with Taoist soldiers in terms of value. Thinking of this, the sect master of Tianyinzong shook his head. Although the Taoist soldiers are strong, the price is high. How can I afford them? And besides, 1 or 2 Taoist soldiers are useless in the face of such a powerful enemy. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian and concubine Chenxue looked at each other and said, "You don't need to worry about this matter." He paused. By the way, is it convenient to arrange for me to meet the other 3 sect masters? I may have to leave Wanxinghai for a while. During this period, I would like to hear what you mean to hold back the Situ family. Okay. I'll arrange this. Hearing Chen Daoxuan's determined tone, Tianyinzong's sect master's confidence was also lifted up. The next day, the 3 first went to Qianyuan Jianzong to take the space teleportation array, and then, Chen Daoxian took concubine Chenxue and Tianyinzong's sect master to teleport all the way. Finally, within a day, I arrived at the meeting place with the other 3 major sect masters. At this meeting, all 6 were extremely low-key. Except for the sect masters themselves, no one in the major sects knew that they were going to meet quietly in private. There is no way, facing the pressure of the Situ family, even these sect masters can't guarantee that there will be traitors at the top of the sect. If the 3 Yuanshan Daojun knew that they met in private. When the time comes, all the sects in the northwest, including the Qianyuan sword sect, will collapse directly. The meeting place. The crowd settled directly in Thousand Array City. Because compared with other sects, Thousand Array City has the largest number of space transmission formations and the widest connection area. Thousand Array City not only connects the land of Zhongzhou, but also the southern immortal territory and eastern immortal territory of Xianyun continent. Even if the 3 major Yuanshan Daijins come to the door, they still have a final retreat. Although the possibility of escaping in the space teleportation array under the eyes of Yuanshan Daojun is very small, there is still hope, isn't it? Thousand Array City. In a hidden fairy mansion. 6 Yuaning true monarchs gathered here one after another. When the 6 nascent soul true monarchs set it out, they were all stomping their feet, and there would be an earthquake in the northwest. But now, they are forced to meet in secret, which is also an anecdote. Wait until everyone is seated. The sect master of Tianyinzong began to introduce Chen Daoxian. Fellow Daoist Chen, these 2 are sect master Qian of Qianji Temple and sect master Wu of Xianyang sect, you must know them too. Chen Daoxian and the 2 cupped their hands together as a greeting. The relationship between him and these 2 is not good, especially with the Xianyang sect master. The 2 were still in the Qingwei Taoism. But now, the 2 have to cooperate to defend against the enemy, and I have to say that the encounter in life is magical. Seeing Chen Daoxuan's attitude, the 2 of them didn't show anything, and they bowed their hands to Chen Daoxian lightly, which was regarded as a return gift. After briefly introducing the 2, the Tianyinzong sect master focused on the other. She was also the only female cultivator among the 6, except for Fei Chenxue. This fairy is wearing a crescent-white Taoist robe, with a veil on her face, and her figure is beautiful, giving people infinite reverie. But those present were all the top big men in the northwest, and they had long been indifferent to the temptation of mere women. Compared with her appearance, what everyone is more in awe of is the identity of the other party. This is the Plum Valley Master of Spirit Insect Valley. Master Meigu. Chen Daoxian bowed his hands to her. Friend Chen. The Lord Meigu returned a salute to Chen Daoxian. At this moment, Chen Daoxian found out that this Spirit Insect Valley owner is actually a real monarch of the world. Last time, the 3 sects joined forces to raid the Qingwei Taoist sect. The other two sects were brought by their sect masters personally. At that time, Chen Daoxian was still surprised. Now that I think about it, this spirit insect valley is hiding its strength. However, the hidden strengths of the spirit insect valley are so pale and powerless when facing the three primordial spirit deigens. Chen Daoxian is not afraid of the hidden strength of the major sects now, but now he hopes that the hidden strength of the major sects is as strong as possible. It is best to be strong enough to make the Situ family fear and dare not act rashly. After a brief chat, Chen Daoxian said directly, "Everyone, time is urgent, so I won't go around the corner. Since everyone is willing to participate in this gathering, it proves that you don't want your sect to live under others, and become a vassal of the Situ family." Hearing this, everyone nodded. If not, who would dare to take the risk of becoming an enemy of Yuanshan Daojun to gather here? https:// Chapter 450. Since that's the case, don't hide any treasures you have in the bottom of the box. What I'm waiting to do now is to unite and fight against foreign enemies, heard. The sect master of Qianji Temple and the valley master of Spirit Insect Valley looked at each other and said, "Okay. Dao Yuchen is quick to talk, so I won't hide it. Fellow Daoist Qian, I'll come first." Before waiting for the sect master of the Thousand Machines Hall to speak, the valley master of the Insect Valley on the side said first, "My trump card of the Insect Valley is an ancient strange insect handed down from the wild period." Saying that, the Meigu owner raised his hand. I saw a small tower appear in her jade-like palm. Insect Control Tower. The crowd secretly thought. The Insect Control Tower is the exclusive magic tool of the monks in the Insect Valley. However, the Insect Control Tower in the hands of the Valley Master of the Spirit Insect Valley is somewhat unusual. Even across the tower, Chen Daoxian still felt a palpitation. He knew that this was an instinctive spiritual warning after a high-ranking cultivator was threatened. This also proves that the spirit insects in this Insect Control Tower are no trivial matter. Just when everyone was holding their breath, the master of Lingwogu Valley pinched the magic formula and clicked on the body of the worm-controlling tower. Next moment, I saw a golden worm fly out. As soon as this spirit worm appeared, everyone felt chills all over their bodies, and they felt even more frightened than before. Obviously this golden worm is only the size of an adult fist, but it gives people a feeling of incomparable panic. Gold Devourer. The sect master of Tianyanzong suddenly exclaimed, and even his breathing became rapid. Sect Master Zhou has good eyesight. I didn't expect that Sect Master Zhou would recognize this kind of spirit worm that disappeared long ago. Lord Meigu nodded, then looked at everyone. Yes, this is the gold-devouring worm, one of the top 10 strange insects in ancient times. After this worm matures, it can devour all kinds of metals, spiritual energy, water and fire, and magic tools. Difficult to hurt, extremely cruel. Even if the Daojun of Creation Realm sees it, he has to retreat for 3 times. So smart. The sect master of Xianyang sect lit up, however, it doesn't seem to have grown to maturity, right? Sect master Mei did not change his expression. If this worm is a mature form, do we still need to discuss the strategy of retreating from the enemy here? Hearing this, the sect master of Zhuanyangzong showed a look of embarrassment. Indeed, if the gold-devouring insect was a mature body, there would be no need for everyone to worry that the Situ family would have torn those primordial spirit deigens to shreds. In other words, if Spirit Insect Valley really mastered a mature gold-devouring worm, it would have already ruled the northern immortal region of Xianyun continent, and it would be a turn for the Situ family. Seeing that the sect master of Xianyang sect was speechless, the master of Qianji Hall cupped his hands and said, "Since the master of Meigu has even brought out the gold-devouring worm, I can't be stingy, talking." In front of everyone, the Qian sect master of the Qianji temple took out a puppet about the size of a child from the storage ring. However, compared with other puppets, the puppet in front of him has a slightly different shape. Everyone, please see, this is a kind of puppet that I have painstakingly refined after tens of thousands of years in the Temple of Thousand Machines. We call it a worm puppet. Insect puppet? Qin Daoxian frowned. As its name suggests, this puppet lying on the ground is indeed somewhat similar to a bug, and if you look at it seriously, this bug is an enlarged version of the gold-devouring bug. The gold-devouring worm is only the size of an adult fist, but this gold-devouring worm puppet is the size of a 4- or 5-year-old child, and its size is dozens of times larger than the genuine gold-devouring worm. I just don't know how powerful it is. However, Qin Daoxian did not have much hope for its combat power. Although puppets can be seen everywhere in the Monk War, they have never been the main force of the war. The real role of puppets is only one: cannon fodder. Whether it is the war between Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Dao League, or the battle between other sects, the puppet only has the function of attracting the enemy's firepower. It wasn't until a craftsman genius turned the puppet into a living Taoist soldier, which transformed the puppet's combat power. But the generation of Taoist soldiers requires spirituality. And spirituality can only be created by cultivators in the creation realm. In this way, the problem has returned to the original point. Even if there are more powerful insect puppets in the Hall of Thousand Machines, how can they be transformed into Tao soldiers? Seeing the doubts on everyone's faces, Sect Master Qian of Qianji Temple smiled mysteriously. I know, you have always thought that my Qianji Temple is greedy for money. That's right, my Qianji Temple is greedy for money. As long as there is spiritual stone and the power of good fortune to earn, we will accept any business. We sell puppets to Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Dao League, and even our puppet business has achieved the southern fairyland. Speaking of this, his tone became excited, but do you know that the real purpose of our Thousand Machines Hall is not for the spirit stone or the power of creation, but for refining this worm puppet, and the materials needed are too much. Much too precious. Qin Daoxian felt like a cat scratching his heart, and cupped his hands. What's wrong with this? To turn a normal sixth-order human-shaped puppet into a Taoist soldier requires dozens of spirituality points. In this way, the value of a little spirituality is at least more than thousands of drops of the power of creation. Qin Daoxian nodded. He had inquired about the value of spirituality in Chuanbao Pavilion and knew that what Sect Master Qian said was true. It has to be said that although the sect masters in the northwest are not very strong, they know much more about the inside story than him. Before Qin Daoxian went to Su country, he didn't know about Dao soldiers, let alone the value of spirituality. And these things, the Qian sect master seems to know everything. Of course, this also has something to do with the Qianji temple running around in Xianyun continent all year round to do business. Sect Master Qian continued, and I, this worm puppet, can turn into a Taoist soldier with just a little spirituality. A little spirituality? Qin Daoxian frowned. In this way, compared with the humanoid puppets turning into Tao soldiers, the two are dozens of times worse, not to mention that the insect puppets also have the ability to devour evolution. In this way, in terms of combat power and potential, the worm puppet will completely explode the humanoid puppet. Not to mention that this treasure can change the situation of the war between the two realms. At least once the insect puppet is popularized, the disciples of the primordial spirit period of the major forces will go to the battlefield outside the two realms to serve, and the security will be improved to a higher level. Sect Master Qian is joking. The reason why humanoid soldiers are superior in combat is because they can cast spells and instruments like human monks. Even if the insect puppet becomes a Taoist soldier, how to cast spells, how to use magic weapons? Hearing the question from the sect master of Xianyang sect, Sect Master Qian pointed to the gold-eating worm floating in the air and said, then what is the explanation for this gold-eating worm, fellow Taoist Wu? The sect master of Xianyang sect frowned. Brother Qian, isn't this a sophistry? The gold-devouring worm is an ancient vicious worm that was naturally raised in the wild period. How can the worm puppet of your Thousand Machines Palace be compared with it? That's ridiculous. Sect Master Qian burst into anger. why are the treasures refined by my human cultivators inferior to the spirit worms that were raised by nature? This. The sect master of Xianyang sect was at a loss for words, not knowing how to argue. If he insisted on saying that the things that were raised in the first place must be stronger than the magic tools refined by human cultivators, then the power of the pure yang immortal tool was the best in the Phoenix meteor world. Fei Chenxue noticed Chen Daoxuan's face, and she knew in her heart that Chen Daoxian had taken a fancy to the insect puppet in the Qianji temple. Chen Daoxuan's secrets, Fei Chenxue knows well, but she does no more than 90%, including the industrial production capacity of the Chen family and the treasure of Qingmu Ding. If Chen Daoxian can obtain the refining method of insect puppets from the Qianji temple, and then use the Chen family's magic tool factory to mass-produce it, then. When Fei Chenxue thought of this, she couldn't help but be fascinated. The only thing that is uncertain now is whether the worm puppet is really as powerful as the Qianji temple said. If it is true, then no matter what, she and Chen Daoxian must get the refining method of this treasure. Now. With a smug look on his face, Sect Master Qian still doesn't know that his baby has been targeted by outsiders. Of course, even if he knew, he didn't care. I can teach you the method of refining insect puppets for free, but I can't provide spirituality. Just when Chen Daoxian was thinking about how to get the method of refining insect puppets, the Qian sect master of Qianji Temple suddenly said such a sentence. Such a precious worm puppet refining method, just give it like this? Don't look at me like that. If my northwestern sects are really controlled by the Situ family, no matter it is the insect puppets or the treasures of your sects, they will not be able to keep them. Hearing this, everyone reacted. Indeed, now is not the time to be fussy. Once the battle fails, it would be polite to say that they became vassals. To be precise, they were enslaved by the Situ family. Chapter 451. Master Meigu, Sect Master Qian, the two Gao Yi. The sect master of Tianyanzong bowed his hands towards the two of them. Compared with the two of you, my Tianyanzong has nothing to offer, but I, Tianyanzong, can help you build a space teleportation formation. In this way, the strength of our four families can be twisted into one to defend against Xiao Yuhua and the Situ family. Hearing this, Chen Daoxuan's eyes lit up. Before, he thought that with the improvement of his strength, the sects such as Spirit Insect Valley, Qianji Temple and Tianyanzong became unworthy of mention. Now it seems that the background of each family cannot be underestimated. Building a space teleportation array to condense the forces under his command into one is something Chen Daoxian has long wanted to do. But helplessly, whether it is the resources to build the teleportation array, or the array mage who builds the teleportation array, Qianyuan Jianzong and the Chen family are very lacking, so this matter has been delayed again and again. Only a few short-distance teleportation formations can be built between Qianyuan Jianzong and Izumo Kingdom. It is good. The Valley Master of Spirit Insect Valley and the Sect Master of Qianji Temple looked at each other and nodded. The face of the Sect Master of Zhuanyangzong kept changing. Since the Xianqing Dao League was defeated by Qianyuan Jianzong, Zhuanyangzong and Qingwei Daoist sect had become inseparable. Now, it has become the weakest of the 5 sects present. Whether it is the martial power of the sect or the background of the sect, the Xianyang sect is not comparable to the other 4. Everyone, the sect master of Xianyang sect bit his head and said, although my Xianyang sect has no treasures in the bottom of the box, my sect has the closest relationship with the Qingwei Taoist sect. I would like to act as your inner responder and inquire about the news for you. Hearing this, everyone frowned. The words of the sect master of the Xianyang sect are called undercover if they are good, and if they are inquiring about the news, if they are not good, they are just grass. You don't need to think about it. Once each sect fails to resist the Situ family, the Xianyang sect will immediately distance themselves from each sect and assume a loyal dog attitude. Just when everyone was angry, concubine Chenxue stood up and said, "So, thank you Sect Master Wu." You're welcome, it should be. The sect master of Xianyang's sect also knew that he was wrong, and his face was a little embarrassed. My Qianyuan sword sect has nothing else but this one treasure to suppress the sect's luck. Having said that, a small golden bell appeared in the heart of concubine Chengshu's palm. It was the Yuhuang bell, the pure young fairy of Qianyuan Jianzong. Xiao Yuhua and the Situ family took action against the northwestern sects. At least half of the reason was because of this treasure. When everyone present saw the Emperor Yu bell, they couldn't help but be attracted by it. This is a pure yang fairy weapon. Although this is not the first time everyone has seen it, it is the first time to appreciate it so closely. Using my cultivation base to motivate Yu Huangzhong, I can probably exert the strength of the first-level Dao Jun of the world, but I don't know what the strength of the 3 Daijins sent by the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua are. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian analyzed, Xian Yi, the black-armored cultivator who killed me last time, is the second-level Taoist monarch in the world. Since Xiao Yuhua and the Situ family dare to make a comeback, the 3 Taoist monarchs they sent are absolutely much stronger than Xian Yi. That is to say, these 3 Daijins are all above the 3rd layer of the world realm. Hearing this, everyone took a deep breath. For the other sects, the true monarch of the first level of the world is already the power of the sky. The 3rd layer of the world is pure. If it wasn't for everyone frankly revealing their cards and treasures at the bottom of the box, everyone would have simply surrendered. Oh, how should this be? Sect Master Qian Buchun sighed. The eyes of Tianyanzong sect flickered. As for Ling Zong Qingwei Dao and Qianji Temple Zongmen, they all frowned deeply. At this moment, everyone was in a light mood. After thinking about it for a while, the sect of Qianji Temple encouraged everyone, no matter what, as long as we do our best, even if we win in the end, we will be worthy of Dao Jun and our ancestors. The Valley Master is right. Ling Insect Qingwei Dao stood up and said, Ling Insect Valley, swear to die. Bu Chunluan also said, I, Wan Xinghai, will never surrender. There is also the old Tao. The old Tao's life is near, but I don't want to sit in front of it and bear the infamy of betraying the sect and surrendering to the enemy. Bu Chunlan's sect stroked his beard. My sect Master Qian, I will advance and retreat with you. And I, Bu Chunluan, I will definitely do a good job of responding to you. Bu Chunlan's sect has troubles, and I will let you know as soon as possible, this moment. Everyone put aside their prejudices and vowed to join hands to fight the enemy. But Aoki Ding's mind, split and unanimity is not as complicated as it is said. Blacksmithing has to be its own, so in the end, the dry storage ring and the Chen family can only rely on themselves. Thousand Array City. One after another, the escaped light left the hidden immortal mansion one after another. Aside from Bu Chunlan's sect, Qingmu Ding and Fei Chenxue finally left. In the sky. Qingmu Ding's figure suddenly stopped. He stood side by side with Fei Chenxue, slightly cupped his hands and said, Fellow Taoist Qian, what do you mean? The words fall. A figure suddenly appeared. It was Bu Chun, the Hall of Thousand Machines. Young Taoist Chen, Fei Zongmen. Qianji Hall's sect court bowed to the two of them. You two really believe in the union of various sects to fight against the suzerain's family and Xiao Yuhua? Qingmu Ding said indifferently, what can you do if you don't believe it? Does the owner of Gugu have a better way? Alas, Qianji Hall Bu Chun sighed, if there is a better way, I'll look for the two of you to do something. He paused. Tianyanzong can't be trusted. Sect Master Qian and Lingwagu also have their own abacus, but it's a pity the various puppet secret techniques that my ancestors of the Qianji Temple have painstakingly refined will face the pain of cutting off their inheritance. Aoki Ding silently listened to the words of the Qianji Temple sect, but did not say anything. Bu Chunluan, you are also an artifact refiner. I wonder if you are interested in the puppet art of my Thousand Machines Hall? After hesitating for a moment, Aoki Ding nodded, I'm very interested. I knew it, I knew you were interested, ha ha ha, the sect of Qianji Palace laughed. I just had a secret meeting. When you saw my Zong Zong puppet, your eyes almost lit up. Bu Chunluan turned his head, looked at concubine Chenxue beside him, and said, is it so obvious? Yes. Concubine Chen Shui cherishes her words like gold. Since you are interested in the puppet technique of my Qianji temple, I can teach you all of it. Daojun inheritance. What about the conditions? Aoki Ding has no blind legal intentions. I need you to make an oath of the Great Way. If my Qianji temple is destroyed by the sect master's family and the Wuji immortal sect, if you enter the transcendence period in the future, I want you to destroy the sect master's family and the Wuji immortal sect. What? Fei Chenxue was startled. Before she could answer Qingmu Ding, she immediately stopped her and said, no. Bu Chun, don't promise him. With that said, Fei Chenxue looked at the sect of Qianji Hall. I can answer for Bu Chun's house, but Wuji Xianmen, absolutely not. Who knows, the Qianji temple sect didn't even look at concubine Chenxue, he stared straight at Qingmu Ding, waiting for his response. A long time. Aoki Ding nodded slowly, okay. I promise you, good. Bu Chun in the Qianji temple was relieved. He first took off the Xianyang sect in his right hand, and then took out the Bu Chun token. I saw that he urged the sect token and cast a spell on the Xianyang sect. In the end, the ban on the Xianyang sect was completely lifted by him. He gently held the Xianyang sect in his hand and looked at the Qingmu Ding, make an oath, heard. Bu Chunluan did not procrastinate, and immediately took the oath of the avenue. With a dull thunder in the sky, the great Tao oath was established. Seeing Qingmu Ding taking the oath of the Great Way, Bu Chun of Qianji Temple immediately sighed in relief. He threw the Xianyang sect in his hand directly towards Qingmu Ding, and cupped his hands, farewell. After all, the figure of the Qianji Temple Zongman disappeared in an instant. Bu Chun, you shouldn't promise him. On the side, Fei Chenxue was very annoyed. The suzerain's family is okay to say, once you become a in the future, situ, you can easily destroy it, but the Wuji Xianmen is different. It is known as the first immortal gate in the Phoenix meteor realm. It is not as it looks on the surface. French meaning. Isn't the Wuji Xianmen not without the heavenly lord of tribulation? Fei Chenxue shook her head, that's not the case. Liangjiuan has always been rumored that the reason why Wuji Xianmen did not have the birth of Tianzuan is because they didn't want to guard the battlefield outside Liangjiuan, and deliberately let Chen Lang in the creation realm suppress the realm. Aoki Ding frowned, is there such a thing? Zuanchen didn't care about it that day. What is your honorable city? Fei Chenxue sighed, it's just the product of mutual compromise between the top forces in the Fengyun world. Perhaps for second-rate Daijins and special first-rate Daijins, Tianzuan City is a behemoth. But for the real top forces, Tianzuan City is a mascot and has no deterrent effect. For some reason, when Aoki Ding heard this, he suddenly thought of a famous international organization in his previous life. He couldn't help sighing with emotion, in the end, you have to rely on yourself. Concubine Chenxue wanted to say something, but the oath of the Aoki Ding Dao had already been made. No matter how much she said at this time, it would be meaningless. Now, the only thing they can do is to help the Temple of Thousand Machines not be invaded and destroyed by the suzerain's family. Otherwise, in the future, Qingmu Dinka will have to seek revenge for the sect master and Wuji Xianmen for it, correct? Fei Chenxue paused in her footsteps and looked at Qingmu Ding suspiciously. Qingmu Ding said with a smile, Qianji Hall is obviously a hall, so why call the Gugu Master Bu Chun instead of the Hall Master? Hearing this question, Fei Chenxue smiled and said, this matter is related to Qin Zhan. Back then, Qin Zhan broke through the nascent soul stage and went to visit various sects, and the first stop was the Qianji Temple. At that time, the Valley Master of the Thousand Machines Palace personally received him and learned from him. In that battle, Qin Zhan was lucky enough to win, so he said, you and I are both the palace masters, and it seems that the strength is comparable. At this point, the hall master Qian, who felt humiliated, asked others to call him Bu Chunluan. There is still such a thing. Aoki Ding shook his head with a smile, no wonder Bu Chunluan didn't like seeing Qin Zhan so much when he raided the Qin Daoxian faction. It seems that my brother-in-law was also an arrogant and domineering master when he was young. Say as if you're old. Concubine Qinxue rolled her eyes at him. I scolded Qin Zhan for this matter back then, and made him imprison him for 10 years in the sect. Should. After saying that, Aoki Ding hugged Fei Chengshu's slender waist, and disappeared in a flash. The next day, Qingmu Ding and concubine Qinxue, who rushed back to Shuanghu Island, not only came to enjoy the newly married Yener, but also got busy each other in order to defend against the coming powerful enemy. Twin Lakes Island. Qingmu Ding found Yuan Jianzong at the Magical Instrument Research Institute. Seeing the Qingmu Ding suddenly appearing in front of him, Yuan Jianzong was stunned, and immediately cupped his hands. Patriarch, why are you here? No wonder Yuan Jianzong was suspicious. Qingmu Ding Kai and concubine Qinxue just got married, and it should have been a long time ago. Why was he in such a hurry to come to the Magical Instrument Research Institute to find him? Aoki Ding looked at him winking and glared at him. Can't I come? Hee, no, of course not, I can come. I can come. Ignoring Yuan Jianzong, who was smiling and smiling, Qingmu Ding said with a serious expression, Dao Chu, let me ask you, how is the production situation of the sect master and the extraction of the power of creation? Seeing that Aoki Ding was not joking, Bu Chunlin's face also became serious. Patriarch, during this period of time, the 4th level and above item refiners in our Magic Item Research Institute have been refining day and night, and have more than doubled the production line of the sect master. During these days, the sect master has produced more than 2,200 pieces, and the sect master factory is now producing 150 pieces per day. As for the power of creation, due to the relatively short refining time, only more than 60,000 drops have been extracted for the time being. But you are worried, as long as you give us another year, we will definitely be able to refine all the 20 million power of creation. Yuan Jianzong vowed to guarantee the road 1 year. Aoki Ding shook his head, he still has a year left. 3 months later. The Qin Daoxian faction is about to force the palaces of the northwest sects, and then, Wan Xinghai. With the strength of the 3-world realm 3rd layer Chen Lang, the 4 Daijins of Spirit Insect Valley, Qianji Temple, Tianyanzong, and Sect Master Qian combined, it is difficult to say whether they can withstand a month. Anyway, Aoki Ding is not optimistic about them. In particular, Tian Yenzong still looks like a piece of shit. Seeing that the situation is not good, the other party is estimated to be the first to surrender to the suzerain. After all, being a dog is better than dying. I only give you 3 months. Bu Chunluan raised 3 fingers to Yuan Jianzong. 3 months later, I want 10 million drops of the power of creation. Hearing this, Yuan Jianzong calculated frantically, and after a while, he raised his head. No problem, 10 million drops of the power of creation in 3 months. Dao Chu, this matter is no trivial matter, it even concerns the future and destiny of my Qin family, please. Bu Chunluan patted the other party's shoulder and said solemnly. There has never been a moment when Aoki Ding spoke to him in such a light tone. At this moment, Yuan Jianzong only felt that he had a heavy burden of hundreds of millions of pounds on his shoulders. He said in a hoarse voice, the patriarch is worried. Dao Chu vowed to die to complete the order. It is good. Leaving Yuan Jianzong aside, Qingmu Ding rushed back to the patriarch's immortal mansion. He now wants to see if the inheritance given to him by the 1,000 Machines Palace is as magical as the other party said. Back to Xianfu. Aoki Ding immediately entered the secret room to retreat. Inside the secret room, Bu Chunluan sat cross-legged on the futon, and couldn't wait to open the Xianyang sect, who was sent to him by Gu Gus Master. This is divine consciousness invaded Xianyang sect, and Bu Chunluan saw the insect puppet displayed by Bu Chun in Qianji Temple at first glance. A thought moves. The worm puppet the size of a grinding disc was taken out by him from Xianyang sect. Compared with the ancient worm gold-devouring worm, this worm puppet looks different except for its appearance. The 6th-order low-grade insect puppet, the Gu Gu owner gave it to me like this, it's really shy. Bu Chunluan shook his head. I just don't know, what exactly is the power source for this insect puppet? He fiddled with the worm puppet and found nothing. The 6th rank low-grade puppet is indeed a bit high for Qingmu Ding, who is only a 4th rank high-grade refiner. Since Aoki Ding has no worries about cultivating resources, he has completely slackened his skills in weapon refining and alchemy. Because whether it is a medicinal pill or a magic weapon, he can obtain it through the power of the family, and he does not need to refine it himself. Although he is blessed with the ability to store his understanding in the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, he can quickly improve the rank of an artifact refiner, but he has no real needs, and no matter how blessed he has no interest in improving artifact refining and alchemy techniques. Chapter 452. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, 3 months have passed. Twin Lakes Island. A secret room in the Patriarch's immortal mansion. Chen Daoxian scrutinized the newly refined insect puppet in front of him, and his face was full of joy. In 3 months, the refinement level has been raised from the 4th level high level to the 6th level low level. My speed is unprecedented. Slightly proud, Chen Daoxian packed up his mood and turned to look at the insect puppet in front of him. The worm puppet in front of him is almost identical to the worm puppet presented to him by the Thousand Machines Hall sect master. This is also the only kind of worm puppet developed by the puppet masters of the Thousand Machines Hall through all their hard work. Its inspiration comes from the gold-devouring worms in the Spirit Insect Valley. Speaking of which, although the gold-devouring worms in the Spirit Insect Valley have amazing potential, they will not actually play much role in the next battle against the Situ family. Because this worm is only a larva, it is still very far from the mature stage. In the short term, it is unlikely to threaten the 3rd layer Daojun of the world realm. The worm puppet in the Thousand Machines Hall is different. This kind of worm puppet in the Hall of Thousand Machines is a brand new worm-shaped puppet. It only needs a little spirituality to turn it into a Taoist soldier, and it has the ability to devour evolution. This means that Chen Daoxian only needs to spend a few tenths of his spirituality to obtain a worm-shaped Taoist soldier, and the price/performance ratio is many times higher. Originally, 20 million drops of the power of creation could only buy 40 Taoist soldiers at most, but when they were replaced by insect-shaped soldiers, the number would have skyrocketed dozens of times. Moreover, the horror of the gold-devouring worms lies not in the individual combat power, but in their overwhelming numbers. Once the gold-devouring worm has formed a certain scale, its combat power will increase exponentially. In this way, 10 million drops of the power of creation are enough to create a swarm of nearly 10,000 insects. Chen Daoxian clenched his fists, and, it's still a swarm of 1-star Dao soldiers. What is the concept of nearly 100% star soldiers? Although the worm-shaped Dao soldiers are not like human-shaped Dao soldiers, they can form a formation, but the insect swarm is born with the characteristics that the more the number, the stronger the combat power. Comparing the two, it is not necessarily inferior to the formation of humanoid soldiers. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian counted the time and stood up solemnly. It seems that it is too late to build the insect puppet production line. Say it. Chen Daoxian's figure instantly disappeared in the secret room. Chen Family Dharma Instrument Research Institute. During this period of Chen Daochu, because of Chen Daoxian's entrustment, his busy feet did not touch the ground. When Chen Daoxian was standing behind him, he didn't even realize it, and was still directing everyone to refine the Aoki Ding production line. Seeing how busy his red eyes were, Chen Daoxian coughed lightly. Cough cough. Hearing the coughing sound, Chen Daochu was startled, turned his head, and said in surprise, "Patriarch, are you out?" "Well, we're out." Chen Daoxian nodded. "This time, it's been hard for you." "It's not hard," Chen Daochu shook his head. "Compared to you, the Patriarch, what Daochu did is trivial." "Okay, don't be humble, you can overcomplete the task in such a short time, I know it's not easy for you." Hearing this, Chen Daochu was no longer humble. During this period of time, in order to complete the task Chen Daoxian explained on time, Chen Daochu did everything he could. If Chen Daoxian had not married his own sect master, these fourth-order refiners in Qianyuan Jianzong's refining hall would have wished to kill Chen Daochu alive. Although Chen Daoxian hadn't seen Chen Daochu's achievements, his consciousness had already covered Shuanghu Island, and he saw the Qingmu Ding factory, which was specially used to refine the power of creation. There are 16 such factories in the Shuanghu Island experimental zone. Moreover, in each factory, there are more than 20,000 green wooden cauldrons. It is conceivable that during this period of time, Chen Daochu pressed the high-level refiners of the refinery hall. How brutal it was. Patriarch, this is the power of creation you want, and it's all here. With that said, Chen Daochu handed over a storage ring. Chen Daoxian swept his consciousness and immediately discovered that the power of creation in the storage ring was not only 10 million drops, but more than 14 million drops. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian was overjoyed. You must know that for the current Chen Daoxian, every time you increase the power of good fortune, you can buy a few more Taoist squads and a few more spirituality, thus increasing the hope of fighting against the Situ family. Chen Daoxian did not pay attention to the 3 Yuanchen Daojun sent by the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua. But the ancestor of the Situ family had Chen Daoxian stuck in his throat. Daojun on the 5th floor of the world, even if it is placed in Liangjiuan, he is still a big man, far from being able to provoke Chen Daoxian, who is not even a Daojun. Even though Chen Daoxian has various plug-in blessings, it is no doubt that he wants to break through to the level of the 5th layer Daojun of the world realm in a short time. For Chen Daoxian, the only way to close the gap between the two sides in a short period of time is to use Dao soldiers. Originally, Chen Daoxian planned to frantically refine the power of good fortune, and then buy a team of Dao soldiers to enhance the strength of the Chen family and Qianyuan Jianzong. But he didn't expect that the Thousand Machines Palace gave him a big surprise. The appearance of the worm puppet made Chen Daoxian realize that he only needed to pay a few tenths of the price to have a stronger Taoist soldier. This undoubtedly greatly enhanced his confidence in fighting against the Situ family and even the Wuji immortal sect. Especially things like worm puppets, once combined with the Chen family's magical machine tool, can burst out unimaginable power. Seeing the insect puppet, Chen Daoxian had a faint idea in his heart about the idea of building the Xianhuang realm in the future. As a small world opened up by Chen Daoxian, Xuanhuangji is still a barren land. But as he stepped into the 3rd floor of the world realm, after nurturing vitality in the Xianhuang realm, he was able to expand the scope of the Xianhuang realm by devouring the power of good fortune. At that time, Xuanhuangji will become a great helper of Chen Daoxian. It is no longer like before, it can only be provided with the blessing of the power of the world during the battle. This is also the reason why Daojin's strength has substantially improved after breaking through to the 3rd layer of the world. Here you go. Chen Daoxian patted Chen Daochu's shoulder hard. At this moment, his mood was completely relaxed. With this power of good fortune, the 3 primordial spirit Daojins sent by the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua were nothing to worry about. Immediately, Chen Daoxian changed his words and said, "By the way, how is the progress of the construction of the teleportation array sent by Tianyinzong?" "It's been fixed." Chen Daochu said quickly, "It's just that the area of Shuanghu Island is too small and there are many important buildings. I ordered them to build the teleportation array on Sequoia Island." Sequoia Island. Chen Daoxian nodded. Sequoia Island is only a few hundred kilometers away from Shuanghu Island, just outside the door. Speaking of which, this is the first space teleportation formation owned by the Chen family. It's not that the Chen family doesn't have the money to build a space teleportation array, but the construction of the teleportation array requires not only resources, but also enough background for the force. In short, Chen Daoxian wanted the Chen family and the Southern Immortal Territory to have a teleportation array that could connect with each other. This requires that the forces of the Southern Immortal Domain promise to establish contact with the Chen family. Otherwise, it would be meaningless to unilaterally build a teleportation array. Unless Qin Daoxuan's teleportation array is only built inside Wanxinghai and Izumo, and does not communicate with the outside world. But in this way, it is no different from self-closing. In fact, in the northwest frontier, except for the Tianyan sect, most of the other sects are relatively closed. Although they also have teleportation formations in their respective sects, very few of them have contact with the outside world. For example, Qianyuan Jianzong, the teleportation arrays it has are all connected to their own internal territories, and none of them are connected to external forces. This is basically the same for the other sections. Except for Tianyenzong and Qianji Temple. Tianyenzong is good at the way of formation, and the formation master wants to earn resources. In addition to selling various array instruments, he must also arrange various formations for other sect forces. What Guardian formation, space teleportation formation and so on. But these formations are only needed by the big forces, so this requires Tianyenzong to take the initiative to go out. The situation of Qianji Temple is basically the same. They need to sell various puppets to the outside world. The market share of the northwestern sects is too small, so they naturally want to open up markets in other regions of Xianyun continent. As a result, Tianyenzong and Qianji Temple have frequent contact with the outside world, which is quite normal. Let's go and have a look together. After all, without waiting for Qin Daochu to refuse, Qin Daoxian waved his hand, and the two figures instantly disappeared in place. Sequoia Island. Qin Daoxuan's figure appeared again, and he had already set foot in Guanhai Xiancheng. Compared with when it was first built, Guanhai Xiancheng is now a giant fairy city with a population of nearly 10 million. Although compared with the immortal city of Yuanshan Immortal City with a population of tens of millions, there is still a very big gap. But compared to Zhangzhou and the immortal cities in the surrounding states, it is already the top immortal city. It's so lively. Qin Daoxian sighed with emotion as he looked at the streets full of people walking into the weaving beside him. Hearing the emotion of the patriarch, Qin Daochu nodded in agreement. Yes, the Guanhai Xiancheng today is the most lively Xiancheng in Zhangzhou, and it is also the economic center of the entire Zhangzhou. Speaking of this, Qin Daochu seemed to think of something and smiled. Qin Daoyan complained before that this Sequoia Island is too small to be developed. As the largest island with a radius of thousands of miles, it was actually called small by Qin Daoyan. It can be seen that the development speed of Guanhai Xiancheng is really amazing. But this is also normal. Now that the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong have merged, Qin Daoxian has replaced Fei Qinshu faintly and become the co-owner of Qianyuan Jianzong and Qin family. After this series of changes, the status of the Qin family naturally rose again. In the past, everyone feared the Qin family because of the existence of Qin Daoxian. Now everyone is in awe of the Qin family, not only because of Qin Daoxian, but also because of Fei Qinshu and the Qianyuan sword sect behind her. Although the outside world has questioned countless times, the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong will eventually fight, and Wanxinghai will also fall into civil strife. But the situation did not develop in the direction they imagined, but the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong merged together step by step. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian could imagine the scene of Qin Daoyan complaining. He smiled. Sequoia Island is too small, you can move an island with no one around and make it into a bigger island. The patriarch said yes. Qin Daochu smiled and nodded. Although it was just a simple test, Qin Daochu already knew that the patriarch had no intention of relocating the clan. Qin Daoyan complained that it was not because Sequoia Island was too small. In fact, for a nascent soul family like the Qin family, the island is too small, so it is enough to move the mountains and reclaim the sea to build a bigger one. What Qin Daoyan really complained about was the lack of resources in Wanxinghai. Compared with Xianyunzhu, Wanxinghai is simply a wild place. Now that Qianyuan Jianzong has won the Izumo country, the Qin family can completely place the clan in the Izumo country. With the strength of the Qin family, I found a clan land in the Spirit Mountain in the Izumo country. I believe that no family force in the Izumo country would dare to give up this spiritual vein. This is the strength of the Qin family. As for the ancestral property here on Shuanghu Island, the Qin family will not give up. Just build a teleportation array to connect the new clan land with Shuanghu Island, and the problem can be solved. But when I saw it today, the patriarch had no intention of migrating to the clan at all. Knowing Qin Daoxuan's attitude, Qin Daochu stopped talking. After all, migrating to tribal land is a big deal, and it involves all kinds of interests. In the Qin family, only Qin Daoxian has this prestige and can move to the clan with a single order. Certainly. From the perspective of the Qin family, it is definitely a good thing to migrate the clan from Shuanghu Island to Izumo. Although Izumo country is located in the northwest frontier, it is in the Xianyun continent after all, and its resources are much richer than the Wangxinghai Sea area. Although the Qin family does not lack cultivation resources, there are some rare spiritual minerals and medicines that Wangxinghai cannot buy even if they have spiritual stones. At this point, it is doomed that Wangxinghai and Xianyunzhu cannot be compared. Qin Daoxian glanced at Qin Daochu and said nothing. Of course Qin Daoxian knew what Qin Daoyan and his clans meant. If there was no accident, Qin Daoxian did plan to open a new clan land in the Izumo country. But not right now. Because Izumo is too close to the Qingwei Taoist sect, and now the Qingwei Taoist sect still has 3 Yuanshan Taoists entrenched. His Qin family is in a hurry to move the clan to Izumo, so why not turn on the lantern in the toilet and seek death? According to Qin Daoxuan's calculations. When the March period came, the first thing that the Qingwei Taoist sect had to deal with was the 4 sects that were relatively close, not the Qin family and Qianyuan sword sect in Wangxinghai. Not surprisingly, Qianyuan Jianzong and Qin family should be the last ones the other party wants to win. If it were Xiao Yuhua, he would definitely choose to invade Wangxinghai and the Emperor Yubel. But now Xiao Yuhua has invited the Situ family as foreign aid. With the strength of the Situ family, Xiao Yuhua will definitely not be led by the nose. With the style of the Situ family, he will definitely fight steadily, and gradually bring all kinds of Northwest into complete control, and this is the way to do Wangxinghai. After all, the ban on Tianzuan city is still there. Xiao Yuhua can be willful, but the Situ family cannot. Steady and steady, bit by bit nibbling away at the northwest sects, and Wangxinghai is the safest way. The two walked slowly on the street. Soon, the two came to the place where Tianyanzong Array Mage helped build the teleportation array. This teleportation array is a lot smaller than the giant teleportation array in Liangjiuan, but it is not much different from the teleportation array in Thousand Formation City. Sent to the array. The array mage of Tianyanzong is debugging this teleportation array. Peripheral. The cultivators of the Qin family stood in a row, blocking off the onlookers. Through the crowd, Qin Daoxian saw a familiar figure. Chapter 453. Nascent Soul Monk, Qin Fusheng. That's right. With the help of Xing Yuandan, Qin Fusheng finally became the second monk of the Qin family to break through to the nascent soul period after Qin Daoxian. Now, Qin Fusheng was shrouding the surroundings faintly with his divine sense, and he looked at the crowd with high vigilance. Until he saw Qin Daoxian. Patriarch. Qin Fusheng's voice suddenly sounded in Qin Daoxuan's sea of consciousness. Well, how is the construction of the teleportation array? Patriarch, the teleportation formation was successfully built a month ago, and now the formation masters of Tianyanzong are debugging the formation. Debugging? Qin Daoxian thought for a while. You mean, determine the space anchor of the teleportation? Yes. Qin Fusheng nodded. Tianyanzong is worthy of being a sect known for its formation, and the space anchors recorded in their sect are very rich. Not only in Zhongzhou, but they have teleportation anchors in the Southern Immortal Territory, the Western Immortal Territory and the Eastern Immortal Territory. There was a hint of excitement in Qin Fusheng's tone. These teleportation anchor points may be nothing to first-class forces such as Top Sect and Wuji Xianmen. But for a second-rate force, it is very precious. Especially for these second-rate sects in the northwest frontier. Like Qianyuan Jianzong, in terms of strength, it is by no means weaker than Tianyinzong, but there is no space teleportation array in their sect that communicates with the outside world. Even when they responded to Tianzhuan City's call and rushed to help Liangjiyuan, they all traveled to the capital of Su Kingdom by Tianyinzong teleportation array. Just when Qin Daoxian was about to say something, the teleportation pattern in front of him suddenly lit up. Immediately after, a figure instantly appeared on the teleportation array. Qin Daoxian took a closer look and saw that it was none other than his newlywed Taoist partner, concubine Qinxue. Share. Qin Daoxuan's figure flashed and appeared in front of Fei Qinxue. When Fei Qinxue saw Qin Daoxian, her face was happy at first, but then her pretty face became serious again. What's wrong? Qin Daoxian couldn't help but ask. Qingwei Dao has dispatched troops. Qin Daoxian frowned. Who is the target? Tian Yenzong or? Fei Qinxue shook her head. It's the Hall of Thousand Machines. What? Qin Daoxuan's mood suddenly became very heavy. Among the four major sects, Zhuaniangzong, Tianyinzong, Qianji Temple, and Spirit Insect Valley, what Qin Daoxian cared about most was Qianji Temple. Because he made an oath of the Great Way in order to obtain the inheritance of the sect of Qianji Temple. If the Temple of Thousand Machines were destroyed in this battle, he would have to shoulder the burden of revenge for them. And the object of Qin Daoxuan's revenge is not only the Situ family, but also the unfathomable Wuji Xianmen. Be honest. Qin Daoxian had been to the capital of Su Kingdom and saw the tip of the iceberg of the power of Wuji Xianmen. If it is not necessary, he does not want to confront this force directly. Although he and Xiao Yuhua of Wuji Xianmen have formed a cause and effect, this does not mean that Qin Daoxian will fight to the end with Wuji Xianmen. It's two different things. There are many ways for Qin Daoxian to get rid of Xiao Yuhua. The most obvious way is to kill him on the extraterritorial battlefield of Liangjiyuan. The extraterritorial battlefield is the place where the two worlds meet. Countless world monsters and human race cultivators fought there, which could be called an Azura field. There, the death of a third-level Daoist of the world realm is no different from the death of an ant, and it will not cause the slightest disturbance. Even if Wuji Xianmen knew that Xiao Yuhua died there, they would not investigate how the other party died. Unless Qin Daoxian did a dirty job when he beheaded the opponent and was seen by other monks. But Qin Daoxian has come over so many years, not to mention how ruthless, at least he will deal with one or two monks who are not as strong as himself, and there will be no problems at all. Where's the Xianyang sect? Didn't they say that they wanted to act as an inner responder and deliver news for us? Humph. Zhuaniangzong is a sloppy sect, saying that it is delivering news for us, but in fact, it was only passed on to us when the Qingwei Daoist army invaded the sphere of influence of the Qianji Temple. Moreover, he still used the tone of surrender, for fear of being discovered by the Qingwei Daoist faction to have something to do with us. Hear this. Qin Daoxuan's eyelids jumped slightly, and then he shook his head. Ignore it for now, Shuer, I have something to explain to you. My husband ordered it. Concubine Qin Shuefu bowed her head, raised her head, and said sternly. I'm going to go out and buy Taoist soldiers to defend against the Qingwei Taoist faction. I don't know how long it will take to come back from this trip, but I will definitely come back as soon as possible. He gently supported Fei Chengshu's shoulder. While I'm not at home, I'll leave everything here to you. Remember, don't be impulsive. Even if the four major sects ask you for help, you don't need to pay attention. As long as you keep yourself, the final victory will definitely belong to us. Fei Chenxue nodded heavily. The Qingwei Daoist faction now has 3 Daijins in charge, and the attack on the Qianji Temple must be like a broken bamboo. Even if this battle dragged on a little longer, a month would be enough for the Qingwei Taoist faction to capture the entire territory of the Qianji Temple. The 4 major sects add up, that is, 4 months, no, Xian Yangzong can't be counted, and only 3 months. In other words, 3 months from now, the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong will likely face the Qingwei Taoist faction with 3 Yuanqin Taoists. Qin Daoxian finished explaining. He didn't even care about explaining Qin Fusheng, he flew directly to the center of the teleportation array, and said to the Tianyinzong cultivator who was playing with the teleportation array, "I'm going to the capital of Su Kingdom in Zhongzhou." "Yes, Your Majesty." A Tianyinzong Zifu cultivator handed over his hands, and was about to activate the formation for Qin Daoxian. Just as the teleportation patterns flickered, Qin Daoxian remembered something, and quickly took off the bronze bracelet on his hand, performed the imperial object technique, and made it fly towards the concubine Qinxue. After taking the bronze bracelet, only one sentence echoed in Fei Chengshu's ears. "If you can't go wrong, run." Fei Qinxue just wanted to answer, but found that the teleportation array shone with a burst of light. The next moment, Qin Daoxuan's figure had disappeared. Looking at the empty teleportation formation, Fei Qinxue smiled and said to herself, "Run? This is my home, where should I run?" Zhongzhou, the capital of Su State. After less than a year, Qin Daoxian came back here again. Only this time, he was carrying huge sums of money. Nearly 15 million drops of the power of creation gave Qin Daoxian unprecedented confidence. At the beginning, he drooled when he saw the treasures in Chuanbao Pavilion, but the treasures he couldn't afford to buy would be all his in the near future. Of course, Qin Daoxian has not forgotten what is most important to him at this moment. Not to buy treasures, but to buy Dao soldiers to defend against powerful enemies. If there was no threat from the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua, Qin Daoxian would definitely use this huge sum to improve his own strength. But now the speed of increasing strength is too slow. Even if he uses Tianhua Yulu to raise his soul to the threshold that can break through the primordial spirit stage, does he still have a physical body that he has not passed? The indestructible real body that Qin Daoxian cultivated was the real body of Zhu Rong. Although this kind of real power is strong, the consumption of resources and energy is also very amazing. Over the years, Qin Daoxian has used the fire of the devil to refine the body-refining resources, but the fire of the devil is still stuck on the edge of transformation and cannot move. Qin Daoxian couldn't help but wonder, can body-refining resources really help the transformation of demon god's fire? If the fire of the devil can't transform, doesn't it mean that his Zhu Rong real body will never succeed in cultivation? Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian became inexplicably irritable. Unsuccessful cultivation, coupled with the presence of strong enemies, made Qin Daoxuan's Dao heart unable to resist waves. Forget it, no matter what, let's solve the immediate crisis first. Shaking his head, Qin Daoxian summoned an escape shuttle and flew towards the location of the Chuanbao Pavilion. Soon, Chuanbao Pavilion has arrived. After getting off the escape shuttle, Qin Daoxian walked into the Chuanbao Pavilion. Perhaps Qin Daoxian was an old customer. The first time he set foot in the Chuanbao Pavilion, the fairy Nishang who had received him came to him. Qin Daoxian, who knew the identity of Fairy Nishang, was not surprised by her arrival. "Fellow Daoist, we meet again." Qin Daoxian bowed his hands. Fairy Nishang blessed her with a salute. "Young Dao Yu Chen is polite." After a pause, she continued, "I don't know what Dao Yu Chen came to buy this time." "Dao soldier." Qin Daoxian said bluntly, "There is also information about the Situ family." Compared with Xiao Yuhua, the direct disciple of Wu Jixianmen, Qin Daoxian was more worried about the power of the Situ family. As one of the few vassals of Wu Jixianmen, the Situ family is very powerful. Qin Daoxian didn't know how many Yuanqian Daijins the Situ family had, but he knew that when the Situ family's ancestor showed his strength in Liangjiyuan for the last time, he was already a world-level 5th layer Daojun. This is where Qin Daoxian feels the most pressure. The Daojun of the 5th layer of the world is far from being able to compete with him now. Even if he breaks through to the primordial spirit stage now, it will be of no use. Now that he has broken through to the Yuanqin stage, he is only a second-level Daoist of the world realm. Even if he is extremely talented, he can raise the Dao realm to the third layer of the world realm in one fell swoop when he breaks through the Yuanqin stage. That is just Xiao Yua's strength level, and he is still far from the fifth level Dao Jun of the world realm. When Fairy Nishang heard Chen Daoxuan's request, she still kept an indifferent smile on her face, and said, "Of course, the intelligence of the Situ family is worth 500,000 points of fortune." As for Taoist soldiers, Chen Taoist does not know what Taoist soldiers to buy. 5,000? Chen Daoxian was shocked. It's not that he can't afford the power of creation, but he is shocked by the strength of the Situ family. Originally, he wanted to come, even if the Situ family had a Taoist on the fifth floor of the world, it would not be so strong. Just one piece of information is worth 500,000 points of fortune, enough for him to buy a brand new Taoist team. Okay. I want this information. Chen Daoxian nodded. As for the Taoist soldiers, do you have a Creation Realm Taoist soldiers here? Creation Realm Dao soldier. Fairy Nishang stopped for a moment. Dao Yuchen means 6-star Taoist soldiers. Right. This. I'm sorry, I really don't have such treasures for sale in my Chuanbao pavilion. The powerhouses in the creation realm are all beings who can create things out of thin air and create life. The strength of Taoist soldiers has reached this level, and it is also is one of the most powerful. Which force in the two worlds can sell such a strong man at will? These words, the stunned Chen Daoxian was speechless. Yes, Taoist soldiers are also lives. They are definitely different from puppets. They have souls, emotions, and wisdom. Even if there is a Taoist soldier whose strength reaches the realm of creation, how can he be restrained only by the formation inscribed before the enlightenment? Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian simply stopped talking about the 6-star Taoist soldier. Then what is the highest number of Taoist soldiers that your Chuanbao pavilion can sell? 5 stars. Fairy Nishang said with a smile. Okay, I bought it. This time, Fairy Nishang was frightened by Chen Daoxuan's amazing aura, and hesitantly said, "Fellow Daoist Chen, the price of this 5-star Taoist soldier is extraordinary, you." How many? 100 million power of creation, or 100,000 spirituality. Chen Daoxian was so choked that he couldn't say a word. After a long while, he rolled his throat and said, "I take the liberty to ask, what is the price of the pure yang immortal artifact sold by your pavilion?" Although the pure yang immortal artifact is an immortal artifact, in essence, it is only a higher-level magical artifact, and there are huge differences between the pure yang immortal artifacts, so the prices are not the same. But in my Chuanbao pavilion, the cheapest pure yang immortal artifact requires 10 million points of good fortune. Call. Chen Daoxian took a deep breath. The price of a pure yang immortal artifact is actually less than that of a 5-star Taoist soldier, which Chen Daoxian never expected. The price of a 1-star Taoist soldier is not expensive, with less than 100,000 fortune-telling powers. As for the 5-star Taoist soldiers, the price has skyrocketed by 1,000 times. But thinking of the strength gap between the two, Chen Daoxian felt that the price was quite conscientious. Speaking of which, the 6th-order magic weapon and even the 7th-order magic weapon are of the younger brother level compared with the Taoist soldiers. Dao soldiers are the things that the real big dogs play. This thing does not have enough background, I dare not touch it. There are so many sects in the northwestern border of Xianyun continent, and none of them have Dao soldiers in command. It can be seen that this is not something that ordinary sects can afford. If Chen Daoxian hadn't mastered the method of mass-producing Qingmuding, he would not have been so inflated to ask the price of the 5-star Taoist soldiers. Seeing the embarrassment on Chen Daoxuan's face, Fairy Nishang didn't make fun of it. In fact, Chen Daoxian was able to accept the sale of 500,000 points of good fortune, and Fairy Nishang had completely raised Chen Daoxuan's status to the VIP level in her heart. For example, Xiao Yuhua of Wuji Xianmen, his status is high enough, but let alone asking him to use 500,000 drops of the power of good fortune, now it is enough to ask him to use 100,000 drops of the power of good fortune. It can be seen that Qin Daoxuan's business of 500,000 drops of the power of creation in one bite has had a great impact on Fairy Nishang. Now, she is more and more convinced that Qin Daoxian is the core disciple of the top force, and he is also the most favored bloodline of heavenly venerate. Otherwise, it really doesn't make sense. A cultivator whose strength is only at the nascent soul stage can come up with this huge sum of money. Of course, she wouldn't have any crooked thoughts. Chuanbao Pavilion asked Taoist soldiers to sell it to prevent the human race monks from handling large-scale transactions, which would be malicious to customers and destroy the signboard of Chuanbao Pavilion. When Dao soldiers come to sell, there is no such concern. As a kind of puppet life, Dao soldiers do not have the extraterritorial greed. Compared with the human race monks, their minds are very pure. Qin Daoxian heard the sound and looked. A young monk with a handsome face, a bun on his head, and a loose robe, slowly walked towards him. Pin Dao Yunshuzi is the person in charge here. Obviously this monk named Yunshuzi was standing in front of him, but he couldn't feel any breath, as if the monk in front of him didn't exist at all. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian couldn't help but feel a chill behind his back. The cultivation of this man is simply unfathomable. With Qin Daoxuan's Dao realm, he couldn't actually detect the truth of the other side. Of course, he didn't release his divine sense to detect each other, and rashly released his divine sense to detect others, which was an extreme provocative behavior. Qin Daoxian naturally wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Junior has seen Senior Yunshuzi. Qin Daoxian respectfully bowed his hands to the other party. Fellow Daoist Qin, don't be polite. Yunshuzi waved his hand and said with a smile, I just heard Shaowan say, do you want to buy it? Senior, this. Qin Daoxian was stunned, speechless. At this moment, he suddenly realized that this person is not a human race cultivator, but a Taoist soldier, and he is a Taoist soldier in the creation realm. Seeing Qin Daoxuan's ugly face, Yunshuzi smiled, jokes, Qin Dao you don't have to mind. Immediately afterwards, he changed the subject, of course, if you have enough money, Dao Yu Chen, I can also consider selling myself to you. Senior is joking. Qin Daoxian smiled awkwardly. Okay, no more nonsense, you want 2 3-star Taoist teams, right? That's right. When it comes to business, Qin Daoxuan's face also became serious. The purchase of 3-star Taoist soldiers is related to the safety of Wan Xinghai, and he has to pay attention to it. You are in such a hurry to buy the 3-star Taoist soldiers, and then buy the information of the Situ family. Did you offend the Situ family? Hearing this, Qin Daoxian pursed his lips tightly and said nothing. Yunshuzi laughed, you are talking too much, don't blame fellow Daoist Qin. Where is the senior? Qin Daoxian bowed his hands. However, if fellow Daoist Qin really has a need, you can come to my Chuanbao Pavilion to seek solutions for the next generation. After all, the next generation also wants to make some extra money. Hearing this, Qin Daoxuan's heart moved slightly. Yup. Who said you have to buy a creation realm Taoist soldier? It's perfectly fine to ask the other party to scare the Situ family. The reason why the Situ family is arrogant and domineering is not because they have an ancestor who is a 5th-level Taoist in the world. Dao Jun on the 5th floor of the world, looking at the battlefield outside the 2 realms, he is a big boss. In the absence of the creation realm, the 5th layer of the world realm is the pinnacle of power. The Dao Jun of the creation realm generally rarely takes action on the battlefield outside the 2 realms. Because once a cultivator reaches the creation realm, he can create spirituality out of thin air. With this method, he can continuously create a Taoist soldier comparable to the primordial spirit cultivator. This is a core strategic force. Compared with sending a creation realm cultivator to go to the battlefield outside the territory desperately, let him sit in the rear, and create more Taoist soldiers, it is obviously more cost-effective. Seeing Qin Daoxuan's expression of doubt, the Yun Shuzi hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist Qin, don't look at me like that. Although I am a 6-star Taoist soldier, there are still some differences from your human race's creation realm cultivator. The biggest difference is that I can't create spirituality out of thin air like your human cultivator." Speaking of this, Yun Zizi's tone was full of regret. Obviously, the inability to create spirituality out of thin air is a huge lack for him. Qin Daoxian felt that it might be related to the road, otherwise the other party would not have such a low tone. "Ha ha ha, don't blame fellow Taoist Qin, I haven't chatted with anyone for a long time, there is a lot of nonsense." Senior Jin Yuliang said, "The junior has benefited a lot, how can it be considered nonsense?" Qin Daoxian quickly cupped his hands. "You kid." Yun Shuzi pointed to Qin Daoxian, shook his head with a smile, "But it's useless for you to flatter me. The price of the treasures in the Chuanbao pavilion is all set by the pavilion owner himself, and even I have no right to change it. Then, seniors always have the right to decide the price of asking seniors to sell, right?" Having said that, Qin Daoxian carefully looked at the other party. "Good boy, are you waiting for me here?" Yun Shuzi laughed, "That's okay, but then again, the old guy from Citus family is not weak. I have to waste a lot of energy to deal with him. Your price is too low, and I don't want to go. Senior, think, how much is appropriate?" Yun Shuzi stretched out a finger. Qin Daoxian moved in his heart and said, 1,000,000 drops of the power of creation? Yun Shuzi shook his head, 10,000,000. What? Qin Daoxian almost jumped up in a hurry. 10,000,000 drops of the power of good fortune. The Qin family is now using the power of the whole family, but they have only extracted 15,000,000 drops of the power of good fortune. This is the result of the Qin family's accumulation of spirit stones and a large number of green wood cauldrons for many years. 10,000,000 drops of the power of creation can buy a 4-star Taoist soldier. The 2 3-star Taoist teams he purchased were only 10,000,000 drops of the power of creation. Also, the Nishang fairy named Shaowan said that a pure young immortal artifact of the lowest rank is only 10,000,000 drops of the power of creation. The price of this big shot is comparable to a pure young fairy weapon. He just asked a transcending tribulation heavenly venerate to take action, and it wasn't that expensive, right? Qin Daoxian looked at Yun Shuzi and felt indignant in his heart. "Dao Yu Qin, don't look at me like that," Yun Shuzi said with a smile. "Do you think that the money you make from your next shot is more ruthless than Tianzuan?" Qin Daoxuan's face was blue, and he simply nodded. It seems that fellow Daoist Qin has never been to the extraterritorial battlefield of Liangjiuan. Why did the senior say this? Yun Shuzi said with a smile, "If you have been to the battlefield outside the territory, you will find that those top-notch Yuanshan Daijins earn more money than most of the heavenly venerates." This? Qin Daoxian was completely confused. For a long time, the ability of monks to make money was proportional to their own strength. It was the first time that Qin Daoxian had heard that Du Jia Tianzhen's ability to make money was not as good as Yuanshan Daojun. But looking at Yun Zizi's appearance, it didn't seem like he was lying. Moreover, the old guy from the Situ family is not weak, and your 10,000,000 drops of the power of creation will never be in vain. Speaking of this, Yun Shuzi no longer persuaded him, but talked about the Taoist soldier business. "Okay, let's stop the digression, I brought you the 2 Taoist soldiers you want talking." With a wave of Yun Zizi's hand, 2 3-star Taoist squads totaling 8 3-star Taoist soldiers suddenly appeared in front of Qin Daoxian as the space fluctuated. "This is the master that you will protect in the future, please say hello, herd." The 8 3-star Taoist soldiers bowed and saluted Qin Daoxian in unison. "I'll wait to see the master." "Don't be too polite." Qin Daoxian helped him and turned to look at Yun Shuzi. "Junior still has treasures to buy, heard." Yun Shuzi nodded. "Fellow Daoist Qin, let's talk." The capital of Su State. In front of a space teleportation array. Qin Daoxian came to the capital of Su Kingdom less than a day before he ended the journey and was ready to rush back to Wangxinghai. He did not expect that this purchase would be so smooth. After all, the things he asked to buy were of a very high grade, and they were unheard of treasures in the northwest border. Originally, Qin Daoxian thought that no matter how powerful the Chuanbao Pavilion is, he must prepare for it. As a result, the other party didn't have any preparations at all, and paid Qin Daoxian the money and delivered the goods directly. This also gave Qin Daoxian a new understanding of the heritage of Chuanbao Pavilion. But thinking that the powerhouse in the sub-pavilion is the powerhouse of creation realm, Qin Daoxian was relieved. You must know that the Wuji Xianmen, known as the largest sect in the Phoenix Meteor realm, is only in the realm of creation. In this case, Yunzi's strength has been able to compete with the strongest monk in Wuji Xianmen, which shows the profound heritage of Chuanbao Pavilion. Twin Lakes Island. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. In front of the pavilion of Linghu Lake, two fairies who play the roles of Tianxiang are sitting by the lake. These two are not other people, they are the two Taoist companions of Qin Daoxian. Perhaps the Qin family and Wan Xinghai are facing a great crisis. For a while, Luoli couldn't care about the taste in her heart, and she worried about Wan Xinghai's future and destiny together with Fei Qinxue in front of her. The three Yuanshan Daijins are fatal threats to both the Qin family and the Qianyuan sword sect. If she hadn't understood the trump card in Qin Daoxuan's hand, Fei Qinxue would have been preparing to retreat for the sect and the Qin family at this moment. Sister concubine, you said that when Lang Qin went to Su country this time, would he be caught by Xiao Yuhua? After all, it is the site of Wuji Xianmen. Seeing Luo Li's fidgety appearance, Fei Qinxue comforted her, don't worry, sister, the Wuji immortal sect is very powerful. After all, Xiao Yuhua is just a direct disciple of the Wuji immortal sect, and he can't influence the Wuji immortal sect. She paused. Besides, the place where Chen Lang is going is nominally the site of Wuji Xianmen, but as the hub of the two worlds, Wuji Xianmen can't cover the sky with only one hand, and my sister doesn't need to worry. That's fine, that's fine. As Luoli spoke, the worried look on her pretty face was not uncommon at all. On the other hand, Fei Qinxue, although she was also very worried about Ailang's safety in her heart, did not show any abnormality on her face. What are you whispering about? Just as she was about to continue comforting Luoli, a familiar voice rang in their ears. Immediately after, the space fluctuated for a while, and Qin Daoxuan's figure suddenly appeared in front of the two. Chen Lang. Husband. The two called out in unison. The only difference was that Luoli rushed directly into Qin Daoxuan's arms, while Fei Qinxue was much more reserved and looked on with a blushing face. Qin Daoxian stretched out his arms and gave Fei Qinxue a gesturing glance. Immediately, Fei Qingxue's face turned even redder, but she still relied on Qin Daoxuan's arms obediently. For the first time, he hugged his two Taoist companions left and right, and Qin Daoxian suddenly felt a sense of heroism in his heart. This time, he not only has to completely eradicate the threat of the three Yuanshan Daijins, but also takes this opportunity to completely subdue the northwestern sects. A few people stay warm for a while. The calm Luoli was the first to react, and immediately blushed and broke away from Qin Daoxuan's embrace. Seeing this, Fei Qinxue also let go of Qin Daoxian. It's just that compared to Luo Li's expression that she can't wait to find a crack in the ground, Fei Qingxue's expression is much calmer. Although Fei Qinxue was also very shy in her heart, her pretty face showed a calm look. Chen Lang, it seems that you have gained a lot this time. Qin Daoxian nodded to concubine Qinxue. It's true that the harvest is not small, I dare not say it against the Situ family, but dealing with the current situation is a piece of cake. Hear this. Fei Qinxue was completely relieved. She knows what a terrifying wealth Qin Daoxian holds in his hands. Although money does not represent strength in the world of immortal cultivation, when the wealth reaches a certain level, it can also burst into huge power. In particular, there is a power in the Fengyun world, such as Chuanbeige, which can do all kinds of business, and it can help Qin Daoxian to convert money into strength to the greatest extent. Fei Qinxue looked at Qin Daoxian with beautiful eyes. What are you going to do next? Chapter 455. Improve your strength and watch it change. Qin Daoxian said word by word. When Fei Qinxue heard this, she was shocked. She can understand that improving strength is a top priority for cultivators to improve their cultivation and strength at any time, especially in the face of the current invasion of foreign enemies. But watching the changes, it seems that Qin Daoxian is a little unfriendly. After all, a few days ago, they won Xinghai and the northwestern sects had just formed an offensive and defensive alliance. Although everyone did not make an oath of the Great Tao, it is not like Qin Daoxian's style of breaking the contract in such a grand manner. Immediately, Fei Qinxue seemed to think of something, and tentatively said, Chen Lang, you want to take the northwestern sections. That's right, I want to take this opportunity of pressure from the outside world to integrate all the major sects in the northwest with my one Xinghai to form a larger immortal alliance. Hearing Qin Daoxian's thought, Fei Chengxi's heart beat like thunder. Why did the various sects rebel against the Situ family? Not because they did not want to become a vassal of the Situ family. But they never thought that they would go to a Citus house and be targeted by Qin Daoxian again. In other words, even if they thought about it, they all thought that compared with the threat Qin Daoxian would bring to them in the future, the current threat to the Situ family was even greater. The northwestern sects plus one Xinghai will form a new immortal alliance. No matter in terms of territory or strength, they are all first-class forces, and they are still the strongest among first-class forces. After all, the two 3-star Taoist teams that Qin Daoxian bought from the Chuanbao Pavilion at a high price were not vegetarians. Talking. Qin Daoxian took out a simple ink jade card and handed it to concubine Qinxue, saying, this is a Tibetan soldier card, there is a whole 3-star Taoist soldier team in it, and this one, Tianhua Yulu, its effect is the same as Tai Xin Shui, all of them can enhance the cultivator's soul, which is a rare treasure to assist cultivators to break through the primordial spirit stage. And this. Qin Daoxian took one after another and took out various treasures from the storage ring. Not only Fei Qinxue, but also the Xing Yuandan suitable for Luoli, Qin Daoxian bought a lot this time. There were only 3 Xing Yuandan last time, and he gave them all to Qin Fusheng. Qin Fusheng did not bear the heavy trust and broke through to the nascent soul period. It is a pity that Qin Fusheng is not like Qin Daoxian. Even if he breaks through to the nascent soul stage with the help of the power of the elixir, he still cannot keep up with the realm of the Tao. Even after breaking through to the nascent soul stage, it seems that the mana is vain and unstable, and it needs to be polished and improved to improve the realm of the Tao. In a short period of time, Qin Fusheng can no longer use this kind of method to promote the growth of seedlings. Otherwise, it might really shake his foundation. Although Qin Daoxian hoped that in addition to him, the Qin family would have someone else appear. But it can't be at the expense of Qin Fusheng's path. Otherwise, wouldn't Qin Fusheng become a tool like a Taoist soldier? Fei Qinxue took a piece of treasure handed over by Qin Daoxian, and the expression on her pretty face changed from shock at the beginning to gradually numbness. 15 million drops of the power of good fortune are too many, so much that one can buy a pure yang fairy weapon in Chuanbao Pavilion. With this huge sum of money to buy cherished resources, you can naturally buy a lot. This is because Qin Daoxian put the bulk of this huge sum on the 2 3-star Taoist teams, otherwise, he would have bought more treasures. Fei Qinxue put the treasures handed over by Qin Daoxian into the storage ring one by one, and then thought of something, said, by the way, I also have something for you. What? Qin Daoxian asked curiously. It is this. Saying that, Fei Qin brought a golden horn-style magic weapon from the snow. This is. Qin Daoxian frowned. This is the Sun Mother sound transmission snail. You can think of it as a super long-distance communication jade talisman, but compared with the ordinary communication jade talisman, the distance it transmits information is thousands of times farther. Hearing this, Chen Daoxuan's eyes suddenly lit up. Oh, there is such a good thing. As a traveler, Chen Daoxian of course knows what communication and transportation mean to a force. The emergence of the teleportation array can clench the scattered forces into fists and twist them into a force. And long-distance real-time communication allows the power controller to know the information of every corner of the power under his command without leaving home. It can be said that both of them are very important to a power. When Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Daomen fought against each other, Chen Daoxian didn't have this kind of treasure in his hands, only the most common communication jade talisman. Therefore, he could not know the news that Uncle 13 was kidnapped by the ancestors of the Jiang family. The same is true. Now Qingwei Daoist Party uses troops in Qianji Hall, Spirit Insect Valley and Tianyinzong. With this treasure, Chen Daoxian and the others will be able to grasp the battle situation of the Northwest sects in real time. This is very important for Chen Daoxuan's next plan. Although Chen Daoxian wanted to use the hands of the Situ family to completely subdue the northwestern sects, the premise was that the pressure of the Situ family should not be too great, and the northwestern sects would be leveled directly. If so, wouldn't all his plans become a joke? Chen Daoxian took the Sun Mother sound transmission snail, looked at it carefully, and said, "Good baby. Hear this." A smile flashed across Feichin Zuikio's face. This treasure was a special magic weapon that she spent a lot of time buying from the outside world. Not to mention how high its rank is, but its strategic value is by no means inferior to that of ordinary one-star Dao soldiers. The Sun and Sun sound transmission snail has 1 female snail and 7 child snails. The one in your hand, Chen Lang, is the female snail. As she said that, Fei Chenxue turned her palm over, and in her palm, 3 snails floated quietly. Why 3? Chen Daoxian was stunned for a moment. There should be 4 left snails in Linggu Valley, Qianji Temple, and Tianyinzong. There is one more, I gave it to Xianyang sect. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian nodded. Regardless of whether Xianyang sect is a scumbag, at least on the surface, the other party is still willing to cooperate with Chen Daoxian and the others. Therefore, putting a sound transmission snail on them is not useless at all. After all, Wan Xinghai is still a long way from the sects in the northwest of Xianyun continent. If Xian Yangzong can immediately spread the news, it will have a very important reference value for the countermeasures Chen Daoxian will take next. Okay, I know, you are keeping an eye on the movement of the Qingwei Dao faction and the Qianji Temple battle. I will go to retreat first. Do not worry. Concubine Chenxue said softly. On the side, Luo Li saw that Chen Daoxian was going to retreat to improve his strength as soon as he came back, so he opened his mouth, but in the end he didn't say a word. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. In the secret room. Chen Daoxian sat on the futon, looking at the various treasures in front of him, and was fascinated for a while. These treasures, he didn't dare to think about in the past, but now, they are like ordinary spiritual stones, placed in front of him. This time, Chen Daoxian spent 10 million drops of fortune power in addition to purchasing 2 3-star Taoist soldiers, and the remaining nearly 5 million drops of fortune power were all used to buy various treasures and spirituality to enhance his strength. Among them, only purchasing spirituality, he spent 2 million drops of the power of creation. Chen Daoxian used the remaining 3 million drops of the power of creation to buy all kinds of treasures to enhance his strength. Tian Huayulu, Xingyuan Dan. And this, the Golden Crow fragment. In the secret room, various treasures flowed brilliantly. Among them, the most dazzling piece is this small Golden Crow fragment. Chen Daoxian did not expect that he could really buy Golden Crow fragments in Chuanbao Pavilion. He used to think that when he would free up his hands, he would definitely go to explore the remains of the true immortal in Liangjiyuan to find the traces of the Golden Crow fragments. After all, The Golden Crow fragment is directly related to the transformation of the Xianhuang realm, and it is related to his Dao realm, breaking through from the second layer of the world realm to the third layer of the world realm. During this period of time, Qin Dao Xian was stuck in the great Dao realm for the first time. This was unimaginable in the past. Because in the past, his Dao realm could rely on the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic and the Star Sword Dao map to quickly improve. Until you encounter the levels from the second to the third layer of the world. Whether it was the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic or the Star Sword Dao map, it didn't work anymore, so he was stuck until now. Because according to the practice experience, the second layer of the world realm to the third layer of the world realm is not a change in the laws of the great Tao, but the slow transformation of the world, or in other words, the change of the sun star in the Xianhuang realm from virtual to real. This kind of change either relies on water to grind kung fu, and a little bit turns the illusory sun star in the world into a real sun star. The second method is a tricky method, which is to directly refine a golden crow fragment. In this way, the sun star of the Xianhuang realm becomes directly. When a world has a sun star, it will naturally have vitality. At this point, the monk can enter the realm of the third layer of the world. Why is there a huge gap between the third layer of the world and the first and second layers of the world? It is because after entering the third floor of the world, you can increase the world scope by swallowing a lot of the power of creation. As we all know, the bigger the world a monk opens up, the stronger the world power that can be borrowed, and the stronger the power naturally. Chen Daoxuan's Dao realm is the second floor of the world realm. But in fact, his Xianhuang realm is not large, and even compared with the ordinary second-level real monarch of the world, his Xianhuang realm is far inferior. The reason for this is that when Qin Dao Xian broke through to the second floor of the world realm, his cultivation only reached the golden core stage. Therefore, sometimes the Dao realm leads the cultivation base too much, which is not necessarily a good thing. It can only show that the cultivator has great potential, but it does not mean that the cultivator gains more benefits. A normal nascent soul cultivator breaks through to the world realm, and its world scope is much larger than that of Qin Dao Xian. Just like Fei Chengshu's world, Qin Dao Xian had been to the other party's world, although the world opened up by Fei Chenxue was also barren. But its scope is much larger than Qin Daoxuan's Xianhuang realm, with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. If Qin Daoxuan's Xianhuang realm wants to catch up, he can only break through the third layer of the world realm and devour a large amount of the power of creation. He is not lacking in the power of creation. The only thing he has to do now is to break through the third layer of the world. Think of this. Qin Dao Xian no longer hesitated, put away other treasures, and set his eyes on this dazzling golden fragment. Although the golden crow fragment was shining brightly, Qin Dao Xian saw a layer of bubble-like space film on its surface. He knew that this layer of space film was the space restriction imposed by Chuanbao Pavilion. If not, even if the golden crow shards in front of them are more than 1/1,000,000th of the original version, the heat released by them may not only melt the entire Shuanghu Island, but also the waters of thousands of miles around will be evaporated. It's inconvenient here, I'd better go to Xianhuang realm to talk about it. Say it. Without saying a word, Qin Dao Xian directly tore open the black hole of the void, passed through the black hole, and stepped into the Xianhuang realm. Although the Xianhuang realm was opened up by Qin Dao Xian for some time. But this world is barren, with neither vitality nor spiritual energy, and Qin Dao Xian rarely comes here. Even if you want to build it, you have to wait until the third floor of the world, after the Xianhuang realm has given birth to life. Divine consciousness unscrupulously unfolded, and glanced at the envoy of the demon court who was suppressed at the very center of the Xianhuang realm. Qin Dao Xian ignored the other party. I just found a spot and sat cross-legged in the air. Immediately afterwards, he took out the golden crow fragment. The dazzling light penetrated through the space membrane and pierced Qin Daoxuan's eyes. He narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling that the illusory sun above his head was obscured by the golden crow fragments. The golden crow shards in the Chuanbao Pavilion have different prices according to the size of the shards. The golden crow fragment in Chen Daoxuan's hands is a relatively small piece at a price of 1.15 million drops of the power of creation. But refining it and lighting up the Xianhuang realm is perfect. Otherwise, the fragments of the golden crow are too large, and Chen Daoxian still doesn't know how to refine them. After all, his cultivation is too low, and he is not sure whether he can refine the golden crow fragments. So far, the only one who can reach the third floor of the world realm in the nascent soul stage is the one who guards the Liangjiuan teleportation array in the capital of Su Kingdom. Apart from him, Chen Daoxian has never seen a second person who can refine the golden crow fragments in the nascent soul stage. Even Chen Daoxian is not sure whether he can refine the golden crow fragments in the nascent soul stage. If not, he can only break through the primordial spirit stage first, and then consider refining the golden crow fragments. In fact, it doesn't matter whether it is the Yuanying stage refining the golden crow fragments or the Yuanshan stage refining the golden crow fragments, Chen Daoxian doesn't care. He has cultivated to today's realm. Where does he care about being invincible at the same level? The realm of the same level of the road is extremely high, and he is a person with a talent against the sky. What Chen Daoxian cares about is the improvement of strength, the deep foundation and the stable foundation. Only in this way can we move forward steadily on the difficult and bumpy road of seeking the way. Breaking through to the primordial spirit stage, I have no clue for the time being. I don't know how long I will be stuck with Zhu Rong's real body. Chen Daoxian shook his head. Comparatively speaking, it is more reliable to break through the third layer of the world. Although Chen Daoxian does not care about false names. But as the owner of the plug-in, Hongmeng Enlightenment of Taoism, Chen Daoxian never thought that he would be weaker than the monks of the same level. In short, if others can do it, he can do it too. Calm your mind. Chen Daoxian stretched out his index finger and tapped on the space film of the golden crow fragment. As the space film was shattered by Chen Daoxian like an egg shell, 1,000 times, 10,000 times more dazzling light was released from the small golden crow fragments. What followed was terrifying heat. Lying X. Rarely, Chen Daoxian scolded the quintessence of his previous life. Qianyuan Jianzong has never had a cultivator refining the golden crow fragments, and Yun Shuzi did not specifically warn him when he sold the golden crow fragments to him. Chen Daoxian thought there was no danger in refining the golden crow fragments. But now, Chen Daoxian immediately wrapped his life spirit armor on his body. Not only that, he also directly called out the 3-star Taoist team to form a formation to resist the terrifying heat. Sure enough, as soon as the Samsung Taoist team made a move, the heat of the golden crow fragment was immediately isolated from the formation deployed by the Taoist team. But the next moment, Chen Daoxian discovered that the barren land of the Xianhuang realm had actually begun to gradually melt. If it goes on like this, won't the Xianhuang realm be burned through by this golden crow fragment? You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.